Labatt's Blue Jays baseball from County Stadium in Milwaukee. It's the third and final game of this series with the Brewers and the Blue Jays. Brought to you by Petro-Canada Dealers and Agents. Our energy is Canada. And by General Motors of Canada, who says join us at the 1988 Calgary Winter Olympics. This afternoon at 5 o'clock, Blue Jay manager Jimmy Williams announced that that man right there, pitcher Dave Stieb, has been dropped from the starting rotation. Here, Robin Yount hit a triple off Stieb. He lasted only an inning and 2/3 last night as the Brewers went on to win it 6-4. This double play ended the ball game. And this afternoon, the Detroit Tigers beat the Baltimore Orioles 7-4 in the first game of their doubleheader. So Detroit right now, they have a half-game lead over the Blue Jays. And Buck Martinez, are you surprised that Williams dropped Stieb from the starting rotation?
Fergie, the only thing that surprised me was the timing. I don't think any of us expected it to happen today. There's an off day tomorrow, and generally things like that will happen on the off day. But Dave just really hasn't thrown as well as he did earlier in the season. The last two starts, he's walked 10 batters. He really has been struggling with his control. So what was so promising early on has really caused him some problems, his control recently.
And to think at one point in the season, Dave Stieb record, 13 wins and 5 losses. Tonight it'll be Jim Clancy going to the mound for Toronto. He's 12-10 against the right-hander Len Barker, who's 2-1. So we're going to have another good one for you right here on TSN.
We're back at County Stadium with Blue Jay manager Jimmy Williams. And Jimmy, you've made the move and gone to a 4-man rotation, and Dave Stieb is out of the rotation. And now with the off days, you've just gone to a 4-man rotation. Anything to do with the way Dave's been thrown recently?
Well, you know, maybe it has to do a little bit. We'll have him in the bullpen, though, and certainly we can make an adjustment later if things don't work out with the 4-man rotation. But I've talked to the starters, the 4 starters, Mike Flanagan, John Cerruti, Jimmy Key, and Jim Clancy, and they feel that, you know, they can handle it. We might have to be a little guarded in Key's situation because he had a tired arm at one particular point, but he said he really feels good now and he feels strong, and that's what we're going to do.
Well, with Jim Clancy going tonight, you have a situation where he's pitched some good ball games in September over the last couple of years, but really had some bad luck. Is a tendency for him maybe to make some adjustments out there on the mound?
Well, I don't know if for him to make an adjustment as much as it is maybe for us to score a few runs for him, because I think, if memory serves me correct, the games that he pitched extremely well the last couple of years and maybe didn't come out a winner were games that were 2-1 games, 3-2 games, and unfortunately for him and for our ball club, we didn't score. He's a great competitor. He always has been, and when he finishes pitching, he'll still be a great competitor. That's just the kind of individual he is.
It's a nice night here at County Stadium for the final game of this 3-game series between the Brewers and the Blue Jays. And Detroit this afternoon in the first game of their doubleheader, this is what happened. Walt Terrell, the winning pitcher, and he has won, I think, only about 3 games on the road. He's, as most of you, I'm sure, are well aware of, he's done an outstanding job at Tiger Stadium. I think he's 11-2 there. But he was the winning pitcher today. Hernandez getting the save. Madlock, look at the job he's doing. His 13th, and catcher Matt Noakes, his 28th home run. Ray Knight hit his home run in the 8th inning, his 13th of the season. Dixon took the loss. Now, in the second game of that doubleheader, I might add, it will be Boddicker against Doyle Alexander. Boddicer's 10-7, and Alexander, of course, since he joined Detroit, is 4-0. But there's Oakland beating Texas today, 11-7. Carteret getting the win, and Petralli his 5th home run.
Gino Petralli has done a good job for that club. That Oakland team is starting to put it together a little bit, trying to make a run at the Minnesota Twins. Here's a look at the big right-hander, Len Barker, making his 6th start for the Brewers since being recalled from AAA.
He's 4-4 lifetime against the Blue Jays, and the starting lineup for the Blue Jays is brought to you by Rust-Oleum, the premium paint for metal.
Nelson Lariano lead off. He'll be followed by Mosby, Fernandez, and Bell. Ernie Whittle do the catching. Rick Leach gets a start in right field, replacing Jesse Barfield, who's gone 2 for 8 in this series here in Milwaukee. Mullinex at third, McGriff's the DH, and Willie Upshaw over at first base.
But Len Barker, he went to spring training as an on-roster player with the Expos. He was released and signed by the Brewers AAA affiliate Denver, where he was 2-1 in a couple of starts. But before the game, Buck Martinez asked Barker about his arm problems and how it's changed his pitching style.
Right, I've struggled over the last couple of years. I got operated on when I got traded over to Atlanta in '84, and it's been an uphill battle all the way. Last year I was finally back, and then I had tore some cartilage in my knee and I had my knee operated on. But I have a great opportunity here with the Brewers because they needed some veteran pitching to help out a lot of young guys that they have here, with a lot of tremendous arms. And I'm just glad that they get an opportunity to get a chance to come back to the big leagues and pitch again.
The defense behind the right-hander, Len Barker, Deere, Yount, and Braggs in the outfield. Riles at third. Dale Swaim, the shortstop. There's a guy who's hit 19 home runs. Castillo, and he's been dynamite against the Blue Jays. Brock, he's got a home run in this series. And B.J. Surhoff doing the catching. Stepping in to lead it off, Nelson Arturo Lariano, the youngster from the Dominican Republic who's done such an outstanding job since he was called up from the minor leagues from Syracuse. He's just 23 years old. He's a switch hitter.
Lariano showed an awful lot of patience as a leadoff hitter. He's done what you want. He's taken a lot of pitches, gotten on base. He's hit in 10 of 13 games since being recalled. 6 for 6 in stolen bases.
Barker appears to be a guy that you can steal against. He's got that high leg kick. And so a guy like Lariano, who has stolen 6 straight, you want to get him on. It's a ball and 2 strikes.
Barker has good velocity. He's getting some of that strength back after the shoulder operation he endured.
Base hit down the right field line. It'll go for an extra base. Lariano heads for second, and he's got himself his 3rd double of the season.
Nothing like a leadoff double to start the tone for the evening. Nelly Lariano just rakes a fastball down in the corner inside the bag at first. Watch this swing. That is not a slap hitter swing by any means. He pulls it by Brock at first base. Durwood Merrill indicates fair. And Lariano gets things started for the Blue Jays here tonight with a leadoff double.
That'll bring up Lloyd Mosby, the center fielder. He's been hitting at a 360 clip in his last 6 games. 3 for 5 last night. This ballpark is infiltrated with mosquitoes. You'll see a lot of hitters stepping out of that batter's box. You might remember Barker back in '81. He's the guy who pitched a perfect game against the Blue Jays. Threw just 103 pitches in that one. Beat the Jays 3-0, and he struck out 11. But he's a much different pitcher now. He could really bring the heat in those days.
He had an outstanding fastball that night, and a very, very hard breaking ball.
You played in that game, didn't you, Buck?
Sure did. It was fun to watch. He worked so efficiently all night long. Stayed ahead of the count. Really had great stuff. I hit one ball hard.
To the pitcher?
All the way to the outfield.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. Ernie Witt pinch hit for me.
Last out of the ball game?
Last out of the ball game. He took all the glory. But Len Barker was just something to watch. You know, ball players enjoy watching games like that, too. If they're trying to break it up, but once it's over, you've participated in history. Surhoff moves way outside.
0-2 pitch.
Just misses. Barker was such a hot acquisition at the point of signing as a free agent. with the Atlanta Braves. There were high expectations, but rumor had it before he ever left the American League, he had some arm problems. He was signed to a multi-year contract and never really lived up to expectations.
Well, his best year was with Cleveland in 1980. 19-12. A chopper up the middle, base hit. Here comes Lariano around third, and the Blue Jays lead it 1-0. For Mosby, his 82nd run batted in this season.
When you get in this situation with a runner at second base, Mosby was trying to pull the ball. He got a good fastball from Barker. Pulled it to the right side of second base, but up the middle for a base hit. Got himself an RBI and put the Jays on the board.
He's limping a bit down there at first base. Talking about a job that Lariano has done. That's the 12th run that he has scored now in 13 games. So he's getting it done in the leadoff spot. The man that used to hit leadoff, Tony Fernandez, steps in.
They like Fernandez in this third spot. I feel he can swing with authority, drive in some runs for them, and it takes him out of the stolen base situation, which is a concern now with his gimpy knees. They don't want him to steal bases. He's got the gap power, alley power. He'll hit him left center, right center. He's got potential to hit 15 to 20 home runs in my mind.
Mosby gets back at first. He needs just 2 more stolen bases for 30. I'm sure he'll get that before the season's out. Pops it up out into right field. Braggs will come over. Makes the play, 1 down. That'll bring up the cleanup hitter, George Bell.
Left fielder, number 11.
Bell had a nice night last night with a couple of doubles. After being hit the night before by Bill Wegman, a fastball that broke his nose.
The best thing to do is jump right back in there. Don't have any lingering thoughts or doubts about getting in there and being aggressive, and that's what Bell did last night. Took a walk in the first inning in his first at bat, followed that up with a pair of doubles, 1 in the 4th and 1 in the 6th. Came around to score both times, so he was 2 for 3.
As well as you know, George, was there ever any doubt?
No doubt about it. As I mentioned last night, had there been a 5-minute delay, he would have played in that first game after being whacked on the nose.
Mosby still at first, 1 down. There he goes. He's looking for 29. They punch him out. Oh, it looked like he was in there.
B.J. Surhoff, we talked about before, one of the most promising catchers in the American League. He gets a high outside pitch. Watch how quick his feet move. Really shifts quickly. Strong arm, on the money with the tag, with the throw. Puts the tag down. That's just a case of the ball beating the man there, and they called him out. I think Mosby slid around the glove, but the ball was obviously there ahead of the runner.
Rich Garcia made the call. Breaking ball for a strike to Bell, evens up the count at 1-1. Last time Barker beat the Blue Jays was way back in '83. He beat Doyle Alexander 6-0 on a 3-hitter. He's 4-4 lifetime.
He gives his young staff a little experience. Actually, he's battling back himself, but he had some stability.
Here's the 1-2 pitch.
Bell wants him to check that ball. Bounced in the dirt. John Hirschbeck okays it and throws it back to Barker.
Derwood Merrill is down at first. We told you about Rich Garcia at second, and Rick Reed is the third base umpire. Right at the third baseman, Riles. George a little out in front on that one. Didn't hit it that hard as Barker threw him a changeup. So the Blue Jays get a run on a double by Lariano and an RBI single by Mosby. You're watching Labatt's Blue Jays baseball on TSN. 31-year-old Jim Clancy making his 32nd start of the season. He's 12-10. This is the lineup that he'll be facing, brought to you by Res 50. 50 years of double-barrel protection.
Paul Mulder leads it off for the Brewers. He's followed by Robin Yount. Glenn Braggs is in right field. Greg Brock, who had that 2-run homer off Cerruti in game 1 of this 3-game series. Rob Deere has been silent in this series to this point. He's the power man for this Brewer club. B.J. Surhoff is the catcher. Ernie Riles is the third baseman. Shortstop Dale Swam and second baseman.
Well, Clancy is 1-0 against the Brewers this year. A complete game, 8-1 victory on a 4-hitter right here. Let's go to Ernie Witt and Buck Martinez talking about Clancy.
Ernie, Jim Clancy has had a history of having some trouble in the first inning. Is there anything you can do to alleviate that and maybe make things easier in that first inning?
Well, maybe I can tell the hitters a couple of jokes or something, get them laughing so they lose their concentration. I don't know. I don't know. You're right. Jimmy has struggled some in the first inning, and I think a lot of it might be where he's trying to overthrow the ball. And I think what we're going to try to do tonight is just utilize all of his pitches in the first inning instead of just basically going fastball.
It'll be interesting to see how Clancy does in this first inning. Now, as we told you about the 4-man rotation that manager Jimmy Williams has gone to, it'll be Flanagan, Key, Cerruti, and Clancy. Steve will be used in the bullpen the rest of this month. Molitor is 0 for 7 in the first 2 games of this series. He struck out 3 times last night. A broken bat down to Fernandez. He's got to hurry. He gets him at first. Molitor's got some pretty good speed. He's got 35 stolen bases, and he can motor. As far as the defense is concerned for the Blue Jays tonight, one notable change. Rick Leach is out in right field. Barfield is not in the starting lineup tonight. The rest pretty well the same. Witt doing the catching. Mullenix, Fernandez, Lariano, and Upshaw. Bell and Mosby in the outfield with Leach.
I think giving Barfield the night off today, coupled with an off day tomorrow, might clear his mind, give him a chance to regroup for that Yankees series.
Robin Yount, the batter, takes a fastball high from Clancy. Yount broke out of a slump last night. He went into the game 0 for 18 and ended up with a couple of hits, a couple of RBIs. He had a triple, a single. That's hit down the right field line. He did pretty well the same thing against Steve last night in his first at bat, didn't he? Only was only fouled by about a foot.
What that makes me believe is the fact that Yount is not getting enough pitches inside. He really isn't establishing, that's Witt and Clancy, the fact that they can push him off the plate. He's out over the plate. He's really taken a couple healthy shots at that right field line the last couple of games. He likes the ball down and out over the plate, but you have to push him back off the plate. You have to get him back off the plate, make sure that he's thinking about both sides and not just the outside corner.
3 balls and a strike now to Yount. Brewers lead the season series 5-4. They've won 8 of the last 10. Up the middle, Lariano. Oh, what a play. Can he throw him out? Yount beats it out. What a play by Nelson Lariano.
Lariano might get most runners in the American League, but Yount, with outstanding speed, had enough to get there. Watch as he dives full out, gloves it cleanly, and notice how quickly he gets to his feet. He's up throwing immediately, but Yount has good speed.
In all the years that I watched Damaso Garcia play second base for the Blue Jays, I don't think I ever saw him leave his feet.
I never saw him dive. Nice play by Nelly Lariano. But Yount, nevertheless, has a base hit, and he's on first base.
That'll bring up the number 3 hitter in the lineup, Glenn Braggs, the right fielder.
Remember how Witt mentioned they'd like to use all his pitches. It's a tendency to panic and eliminate 2 or 3 pitches, but what Clancy's done this season, he's eliminated an awful lot of those slow curveballs. He's gone fastball, slider. He's not throwing many changeups. Yeah, back to first, but you have to make sure to watch and see if they're going to throw the slider, throw the fastball, and mix an occasional curveball in there to establish the fact they're going to use all their pitches early in the ball game.
Yount's got 16 stolen bases. Evens it up at a ball and a strike to Glenn Braggs. Braggs is on a 6-game hitting streak. Checks down with Tony Muser, the third base coach.
Good-looking young hitter. An outstanding year at Vancouver. Promoted last year. At the time, he was hitting .360 in 90 games with 15 home runs and 75 RBIs.
There goes Yount. Off the handle. Molnix will have one play. That's the first. He gets it. So with 2 down, Robbie Yount down there at second base, and that'll bring up Greg Brock, the first baseman. This program, protected by copyright, any use without permission is prohibited. Brock had a couple of hits in last night's ball game. He's hit safely in 5 of his last 6, and he's got a 10-game hitting streak going right here at County Stadium.
Clancy's the type of pitcher that could give Brock some problems. He has good velocity. He has a slider that breaks inside the left-handers. Brock likes the ball down and out over the plate. So if Clancy can crowd Brock with that inside fastball and the slider on his hands, he should be able to handle him.
That's what he's trying to do. But Clancy really has struggled since the All-Star break. You go back, his ERA since then, 5.22. And really, that's because of his inability to get left-handers out. Hit that into right field. Leach will take it, fire it to Upshaw, but Yount scores easily. It's tied at 1.
Greg Brock comes through with his 73rd RBI, driving in Robin Yount. You can see that he jammed him. He got it in on him, but he had enough bat on the ball. You can see it was inside. He fights it off. Rick Leach charges hard, but Yount with good speed and a couple of outs had a good jump off the bag at second. Slides in easily. Good throw from Leach, who really works hard at that, even though he's not an everyday player. Charged it hard.
That's the case when you've got Barfield out in right field. It's tough to take Barfield out of a ball game because of his defense. Deere takes a strike from Clancy with 2 down. The game tied at 1 here in the first inning.
I think what Jimmy Williams is trying to do is just free Jesse's mind, take a little pressure off his back, give him a couple days to gather his thoughts and regroup. You know, if you go so poorly at the plate and it works on your mind, sometimes it can cause problems in the outfield. And I think Jesse's just at the point where a day off might not be all that bad.
Clancy's ahead in the count, 0-2. He breaks another bat. That's 3 of them this first inning.
Pretty good indication of the velocity that Clancy's throwing tonight. Richie Garcia picks it up.
You know, we're talking about Clancy's inability to get left-handed hitters out. If you look before the All-Star game, left-handers hitting .267 off Clancy, and after 300. So that really tells the story. What you know it, Brock, the left-handed hitting first baseman, gets an RBI single to tie up this game.
Rob Deere was actually checking his swing on that inside fastball, and it caught him on the handle, and the head of the bat went all the way out to the mound.
Clancy gets him for his first strikeout of the ball game. But an RBI single by Brock ties up this game. You're watching Labatt's Blue Jays baseball on TSN.
Robin, you're in center field now. You played so many years at shortstop. It looks to me like you're having as much fun in center field as you did at shortstop. Your enthusiasm is phenomenal over the years.
Well, to tell you, Buck, I like center field. It's been a change. It's been an adjustment, but I've really learned to like it out there. When they first moved me to the outfield, it was left field, and I wasn't too crazy about that. There was a lot of little tricks involved in left, but center, I feel like I've adapted to a lot quicker and hopefully can become better at it and someday maybe be a decent center fielder.
Robin, this is your 14th year as a Brewer, and it doesn't seem as though you're anywhere near the end of your career. Just, do you have any goals of longevity ahead of you?
I really don't, Buck. I play each year one at a time. Actually, I play each day as it comes, one at a time, and you never know what could happen in this game. Any day, any time, something could happen that could end a career. So I really don't look that far ahead. I've pretty much taken each day of my life one day at a time, even the way I live, not just baseball-wise, but my approach to life. So that's what I'm going to continue doing, and I don't have any idea how long I'll play.
He sure has been a good one, hasn't he?
He's a pleasure to watch play baseball. A lot of fun.
A strike to Ernie Witt here in the second inning as he leads things off. It'll be Witt, Leach, and Mullinix. Witt tries to lay one down as Riles, the third baseman, was well back at third.
It's a good idea to start the inning. Third baseman off the line and deep, which is trying to get something going.
Well, Ernie's been struggling at the plate lately. Last 7 games, hitting just .125 with 3 hits. He hit a home run last night, and that's the only RBI he has.
That might get him untracked a little bit. Fastball out over the plate, and Barker throws it by Ernie Witt.
That's his first strikeout, and that'll bring up Rick Leach.
Right fielder, number 9, Rick Leach.
Barker was called up by the Brewers May the 30th. And on June the 12th, he went on the disabled list 21 days. They sent him back to Denver in a rehab program. Now he's back. He's been around, hasn't he? Pitched for Texas, Cleveland, Atlanta, and now the Brewers.
He never really has attained the promise he showed early on. He had a phenomenally hard fastball, hard breaking pitch, and Leach just ducks out of the way of that one. He threw 95 miles an hour when he came up with the Rangers.
Well, even in '81, when he threw that perfect game against the Blue Jays, he only finished that season at 8-7. Two balls and a strike to Leach.
When you look at Barker on the mound, he's very large. That's why they nicknamed him Large Lenny. But you look at his delivery, and it looks like it's an awful lot of effort for him to unload the ball, and that would cause problems being consistent. Real high leg kick. He ducks his head down and just is not very fluid. You would think over the years that he would have smoothed that out a little bit, but obviously this is the best motion for him. But it looks very unorthodox, and it looks like it causes a lot of strain on his body. He has to pause, lift that leg way up high, tuck his shoulder in, and maybe cause some problems to that shoulder.
He's 6'5", a little over 225 pounds. That'll even up the count at 2-2.
I always remember when I look at Barker, think of that ball he threw up on the screen at Fenway Park. Take a look at this now. Look how high he kicks that leg up, even with his eyes, and the strain comes through there. It's a pretty good finish. He lands balanced and really follows through well. It's just that it's so unorthodox, but obviously it works well for him.
Blue Jays are are 6-1 in September. He's done a nice job whenever he gets into the lineup. Hitting .375 over his last 8 games. And has hit safely in 11 of his last 14.
It's not an easy role to be in. You know, backup player, but Rick has done a good job keeping himself sharp. Stay ready to play.
Here's the 2-2 pitch. Off the handle down to the second baseman for steal. 2 down. That'll bring up the third baseman, Rance Mullinax.
Barker's high leg kick is something that, a little bit like Nolan Ryan, not quite as exaggerated Ryan that is, but they both utilize a big leg kick, a lot of drive towards the home plate, utilizing the legs through the delivery of the pitch. I don't know if you'd really want to mess with it at this point.
Mullinax on a 7-game hitting streak. It's a fastball for a strike. That's hit deep to left field. Deer going back to the warning track in the wall. He's right there. Makes the catch. So a 3-up, 3-down inning for Len Barker and the Milwaukee Brewers. It's tied at 1. You're watching Labatt's Blue Jays baseball on TV. Of course, the Yankees will be coming to Toronto starting Friday night for a 3-game series. It'll be Mike Flanagan, Jimmy Key, and John Cerruti. The 3 left-handers pitching for Toronto. And a reminder, Sunday is Quaker Oats Toot Day. And I might also add that we'll be televising Friday night's game and Saturday afternoon's game at 1:30. That has been added to the TSN schedule. So make sure you tell your friends about that one. B.J. Surhoff leads it off against Jim Clancy. Takes a strike. It's tied at 1 here in Milwaukee. We're in the bottom of the 2nd inning. Detroit won the first game of the doubleheader against Baltimore. 7-4. Terrell got the win. So the Tigers are a half game up. Alexander against Boddicker in the second one tonight.
Boy, Alexander's done a great job for the Tigers. 4-0 at this point. Really a veteran clutch performer down the stretch for Sparky Anderson.
That's hit into center field. Mosby's got a ways to go. He's there.
Nice job by Lloyd Mosby tracking that drive down in left center. Cool air tonight. That ball held up a little bit. He really is on his horse here. You can see he's stretching out, but he gets to it very easily.
Yeah, he does make it look easy, doesn't he?
Hangs up in the cool Wisconsin evening air.
You know, Detroit had played in 2 doubleheaders this year, and they lost them both.
That's not going to happen tonight.
Oh, sure isn't. Ernest Riles, the third baseman.
Before the game, we were talking with Rance Mullinax about that game, Alexander against Boddicker, and he said there's going to be some serious flipping going on up there, meaning that it's going to be a lot of off-speed pitches and just
for sure
flipping those strikes up there, keeping the hitters off balance. Alexander's motto, when you work yourself to when you have to throw a fastball, don't.
Well, he sure throws a lot of them.
Goes with a changeup.
A ball and 2 strikes to Riles. He's had a pretty good series so far. 2 for 4 Monday night. 1 for 2 last night. A couple of walks.
I think Clancy's rushing a bit with his delivery. That slider was out over the plate. He's kind of rushing towards home plate. He's got to wait back and let his arm lead his body towards home plate. Got that breaking ball down in there.
With Oakland winning today, we got Minnesota playing Chicago tonight. Means Oakland 2.5 games back right now in Minnesota. Just misses. It's a full count now to Riles.
Well, that was quite a game, Minnesota and Chicago last night. The tying run for the Twins was thrown out at the plate by Kenny Williams, White Sox outfielder.
Clancy is second strikeout. That'll bring up the shortstop, Dale Swain.
John Becker to the Brewers. Thank you.
Swain hitting .300 against the Blue Jays this season. He's just 23 years old. He's having an outstanding season with his 19 home runs, 79 RBIs. Nice to see a shortstop with some power, especially when you're only 23. But naturally, I would take Tony Fernandez any day of the week. All I said was just nice to see one.
Nice to see one. Yeah. I think Jimmy Williams will agree with you, Fergie. He's happy with the one he has now.
Clancy's got 4 complete games this year in a shutout. His last 4 starts, he's got a couple of wins, 2 no decisions. Prior to that, he had lost 4 in a row.
Clancy is really a tough person to read on the mound. There you look at the score. Boston over New York in the 5th.
Boston beat them last night 8-6.
So score in Baltimore, second inning, game 2.
Boddicker against Doyle Alexander. Boddicker's 10-7. Clancy gets swing. He has struck out 3 through 2 innings of play, and it's tied at 1. You're watching Labatt's Blue Jays baseball on TSN. Billy Smith down at first, John McLaren at third. It's tied at 1.
The Labatt's player of the game for Toronto will receive the new Canon EOS, the ultimate autofocus SLR camera. Faster, quieter, more sensitive than ever before. Canon EOS, it's much more than the camera's ever been. As well, an amateur baseball team will be the guest of the player of the game and Canon at a future game.
Look at that score. The Expos leading St. Louis 4-2. Galarraga, a couple of RBIs. Dennis Martinez pitching on the mound for Montreal. Joe McGrain, the left-hander for St. Louis. Oh boy, the Expos can win that one. They'll be 2 back of St. Louis. Freddie McGriff. The slump continues. He's got a pretty good on-base percentage. Just a little over 380, so he's done a nice job there. He got a couple of walks in last night's game.
It's been a roller coaster for McGriff. 1 for 17 in his last 8 games.
That was a double Friday night against Seattle.
And before that, he was 6 for 14, a .429 average. So it's up and down. Maybe showing the little inexperience, not really that composed or confident yet to stay with one particular stance, one style of hitting.
He hasn't hit a home run in almost 2 weeks. He's got 18 of them. 2 balls and a strike. You know, when the Jays score first, they're 47-12. When the opposition score first, the Jays are 36-43. Remember, the Jays scored first in this ball game tonight.
We've seen McGriff throughout the year make minor adjustments in his batting style, and that show you. Watch this replay here as he strides into the ball and it catches the inside corner, kind of ties him up with that fastball.
I thought that pitch might have been a little too inside. He watches it called 3rd strike. McGriff has now struck out 33 times in the last 28 games. For Barker, strikeout number 2, and that'll bring up the first baseman, Willie Upshaw. Even though McGriff has been struggling at the plate, Blue Jay manager Jimmy Williams keeps putting his name in the lineup because he knows what he can do with the long ball.
Good changeup from Barker in there against Upshaw. You're right, Fergie. He's always got a chance to explode. A couple of long blasts this time of the year could mean the outcome in a pennant race. He's going to send the young left-handed hit DH out there as often as he can.
That ball hit right below us where Chuck Connors is sitting. Remember him? Star in the television series, The Rifleman. He's in town now promoting his new show, The Werewolf. It's on Fox Broadcasting. And he's making the rounds here in Milwaukee. No balls and 2 strikes with Upshaw. Pitch is a little low.
Barker will try to throw that hard slider on the hands of the left-handed hitters. He started Upshaw off with a changeup. He's trying to buy some of that inside part of the plate. Surhoff moves inside. Catches the corner, and that's the second called strikeout in a row for Len Barker. Upshaw discusses it with Hirschbeck, but it had plenty of the plate.
Number 3 for Barker.
Here's that hard slider.
There's no doubt about that
checks
one.
his swing right down the middle.
So Lariano, who opened up this ball game with a double down the right field line, came around to score an RBI single by Mosby. Will step in. Two down, 3rd inning. Score tied at 1. He hits it into right center field. Yount's got to go. Can he get there? Yes, he will. Lariano tagged that one pretty good. Back to the warning track. So it's tied at 1. You're watching Labatt's Blue Jays baseball on TSN. Dave Hilton in his first year as the first base coach under Tom Trebelhorn, and Tony Muser down at 3rd base for the Brewers. This afternoon, Atlanta beating San Diego 3-2. Ex-Blue Jay Jimmy Acker getting his 10th save of the season. Palmer getting the win. He's 8-10 now.
Benito Santiago, 16 home runs for that rookie catcher.
Robinson getting the win in Pittsburgh's 4-3 win over the Cubs. Get a home run, too. Castillo, the second baseman, will lead it off for Milwaukee. Bottom of the 3rd inning, score tied at 1. The Brewers with 2 hits and the Blue Jays with 2 hits. Castillo has been a nemesis for these Blue Jays. A hit Monday night with a couple of RBIs. He was 2 for 4 last night with an RBI. Being close to 400 against Toronto this season. And he's hitting out of the number 9 spot, hitting just .226. You know, we're sitting around with Mike Flanagan earlier today talking about a few years ago and what the pitchers were like and how the game has changed. And you brought up a good point, Buck. The ERA's average in 1968 was 2.80. The average ERA today in the American League is 4.80. Sure made a lot of changes to help out the hitters in this game.
Well, you know, they've lowered the mound. They've added the DH. The AstroTurf comes into play. There's just so many things that have improved as Clancy gets a slider in on Castillo's hands, and he's out on strikes.
Number 4 for Clancy, and that'll bring up Paul Molitor.
There's so many things that have really improved things for the hitters. Lowering the mound takes away the advantage of a pitcher throwing downhill, which is tough for the hitter to pick up the angle of the ball to determine whether or not it's a slider or a breaking pitch, fastball. So they lowered the mound 4 inches. They've got AstroTurf. They got designated hitters. Years ago, you took a lot of pride in having an ERA under 3. Now it's under 4, and that's considered a good ERA.
Yeah, you're happy if it's under 4.
That's right.
Well, there he is, Chuck Connors.
That's the Rifleman.
Yep, the star of Werewolf now. He was in Montreal not too long ago to help dedicate a statue to Jackie Robinson, Jackie's widow Rachel, on the site of where Delormier Stadium used to be. Of course, he used to play with the Montreal Royals and with the Dodgers. An old first baseman. ball and 2 strikes to Paul Molitor. You know, since he ended that 39-game hitting streak, he's hitting just .153, 8 for 52. Just a complete reversal of form. He doesn't have a hit against the Blue Jays in this series. He looks at another strike. He struck out 3 times last night. Number 5 for Clancy.
Watch this slider. Really locks up Molitor. He can't pull the trigger. Right in there. That's 4 strikeouts in a row for Clancy. Really settled in nicely, and Ernie Whitt's prediction of using all of his pitches very on the money tonight.
Robin Yount had that base hit in the first inning. And he came around to score on an RBI single by Greg Brock. There's a strike.
Boy, he's got that slider working now. Clancy's slider is so hard, and he throws it with so much spin, it's very difficult to determine fastball or slider. Little off-speed pitch, Yount's out in front of.
I thought he's working on weights. Charlie Moore, former Milwaukee Brewer.
Juan Beniquez in the middle. Manny Lee sitting down.
You know, you're talking about Jim Clancy. I thought one of the nicest columns that I had seen written on Jim Clancy was one that John Robertson did, when he talked about Clancy, how, you know, he just goes out every day, does his job, he never complains, and he's really been sort of a class guy in the organization over the years. You can expect this guy to get 35 starts year in and year out.
He goes out there and gives you his all. Sometimes it ends in the first inning, but not too often. This is with that breaking pitch, you know, very tough to read. You look at him on the mound, you can't tell if he's throwing a no-hitter or been whacked around the ballpark. No expression out there. He's just very businesslike. Goes about his business. Does a good job of it.
It's a full count to Yount. Did he go around? They look at the appeal from Durwood Merrill, and he said no. So Yount draws a walk. That's the first one issued by Clancy.
That breaks a string of 4 consecutive strikeouts as you look at the moon rising up in the east. Beautiful moon. Great evening for
Would that
baseball.
be a harvest moon in the Midwest?
Pretty soon it will be, as soon as they cut the corn.
Well, I'll tell you, everywhere I go, it looks like they've cut it. Walk in the Blue Jay clubhouse, and there's 2 or 3 guys sitting over the side peeling corn. I guess the players must have that after the game.
That's what it's for.
Glenn Braggs will step in. He grounded out to Mullenix in the first inning. We're tied at 1 in the bottom of the 3rd inning with 2 down. Robin Yount at first base. Remember, he has stolen 16 bases this year. He's been caught 8 times.
Ernie Whitt's on a roll. He's really throwing well from that back behind home plate. Yeah, with a sizable lead.
Ernie threw out 2 yesterday and 2 on Monday. I can remember in spring training, I know you commented last night, Buck, how well Ernie's been throwing this year. But I can remember John Sullivan saying in spring training, you know, the thing that I'm really impressed with is the way Whitt is throwing the ball this year.
Really?
And you know what Ernie said before the game? He said, I stopped working on weights this year. I used to do that in the off season, but I didn't do it this year. And that's why I think I'm throwing the ball better.
He definitely has quickened up his feet. Good release with his hands. Made some accurate throws, and he's really throwing very well. How'd you like to be this guy? Glenn Braggs, 24 years old, just on the doorstep of a potentially long career. Great credentials as a minor league hitter, coming up to the big leagues. Right there with 62 RBIs. That nasty pitch right there. Gets the corner down and away with a good fastball.
Well, it's a ball and 2 strikes. Two hits for the Brewers and 2 for the Blue Jays.
There's so much talk about juiced up baseball, good bats, quality pitching. Look at the size of this guy. Looks like a fullback. He's up there swinging the lumber.
There goes Yount. The throw by Witt. He bounces it. Yount is in there.
You see what Liriano did there? He took the short hop in front of second base, and he turned around and looked at center field like the ball got away from him, trying to decoy Yount. Ernie Witt didn't get a good weight shift that time. You can see him recoiling. Watch Liriano now. He's going to go take a step towards center field like the ball gets away, gets Yount to look for it. Pretty heads-up play by a rookie.
I know I was watching a telecast on TSN, and Foley and Casey Candell pulled that play off out in San Francisco when the Expos were out there. But you don't expect that from a rookie, do you? Although Candell is a rookie, but Liriano, just 23 years of age and just up from Syracuse.
Picked it up just like that. Scooped it up. Looked out towards center, but Yount wouldn't go for it. He's done that himself as a shortstop, so he knows what the deal is.
Here's the 2-2 pitch to Braggs. Clancy gets him his 6th strikeout through 3 innings of play here. What a job he's doing. You're watching Labatt's Blue Jays baseball on TSN. Now let's go to TSN update. Thank you very much, Mike Flanagan. And the probable starter for the Yankees will be Ron Guidry in that first game Friday night. We'll have that one for you right here on TSN at 7:30 Eastern. And then on Saturday, it'll be Jimmy Key at 15-6 against Tommy John, who's 12-5. And we'll have that one as well at 1:30 on TSN. So it's a big weekend of baseball in Toronto. And John Cerruti, of course, will pitch Sunday, and he's scheduled to face Rick Rhoden, who's 16-9. What a series that'll be.
If anybody saw that last series of the year in Toronto in 1985, the Yankees against the Blue Jays, should be the same kind of excitement this weekend. You got Guidry, Flanagan, Key and John, Cerruti and Rhoden. Pretty good pitching matchups.
Mosby, with an RBI single in the first inning, will lead it off here in the 4th. I tell you, I've been impressed with Barker tonight for a guy that hasn't pitched that much the last couple of years.
Well, you know, he's been around the plate, had some change-ups over. Looks like he's got pretty good velocity. There's a change-up. What a great motion on that pitch. Mosby was totally cool out in front. You know, when you've had arm problems and you've been reasonably successful, sometimes that helps you out to be a little more patient with yourself. Watch as Mosby really is out in front. He goes at it like a fastball. Barker has a good motion on it. You can see he's off balance and out in front.
He's ahead in the count, 0-2.
But when you've experienced arm problems, you've been set back, sometimes you're a little more patient with yourself, and you realize that you don't have to strike everyone out. You can simply make good pitches and get ground ball outs.
Hits that down the line, but it is fouled by a couple of feet, and he breaks his bat. You know, I was just looking back at Barker. Oh, there we go. Thank you very much here at County Stadium. It's a pleasure to be here to do this telecast tonight, believe me. And I was looking back at Barker's record, his last victory prior to this season. He beat Pittsburgh 6-1 in '85. So it has been a while for Len Barker. And his last major league start, appearance before May the 30th, came in September of '85. A 7-3 loss to Cincinnati. He didn't get by the first inning. A ball and 2 strikes to Mosby. 4th inning, tied at 1. Strikeout number 4 for Barker.
Barker and Clancy have really hooked up in what's forming up to be a pretty good pitcher's duel. Watch this fastball down and in. Good velocity on that pitch. Watch Mosby's head. See if it stays on the ball. Pulled off a little bit. He never saw it down low in the strike zone.
That'll bring up the shortstop, Tony Fernandez. Tony flied out to the right fielder. Brags. Fernandez on a 15-game hitting streak. He leads the club in triples and in stolen bases. And as you saw, he needs just 30 more hits for 200. 213 last year. Off the handle, down to the shortstop, Swain. 2 down. Clancy and Barker are making this game look too easy tonight, aren't they?
They're throwing strikes, staying ahead in the count, utilizing all their pitches. Hitters can't just stand up there and lay back and tee off on the fastball. Clancy's getting his slider over. Barker's throwing some very effective change-ups. Pretty good game of cat and mouse. Pitchers against the hitters tonight.
Bell hit his 43rd home run last Sunday off Scott Bankhead. George hit 2 bullets for doubles last night.
Slapping mosquitoes. There's a look at the home run leaders. Bell ahead of McGuire. Evans, what a year he's had there in Boston.
What about Pagliarulo? That's hit into center field. Yount is coming in, and he'll be there to make the catch. Another easy inning for Len Barker. He has now retired 11 in a row. You're watching Labatt's Blue Jays baseball on TSN.
Back here at the bottom of the 4th inning, score tied 1-1. Greg Brock will lead it off. Yesterday, I had a chance to talk with Greg Brock about being a young veteran on a young ball club.
Well, we've got a good combination on our club right now. We've got some very experienced veterans that are very, very good ball players. In Molitor, Yount, we had Cooper, you know, Gantner. You know, those guys, you know, make it a lot easier with all the young guys we have on the club. And then I came into the situation probably right in the middle, and, you know, it was a great situation for me to come into. And you know, it's been a great year and a really relaxing year.
In your own mind, do you think that the numbers that come out of the Dodger AAA organization in Albuquerque are a little bit inflated, and that might cause the organization to have problems really assessing their talents? In my mind, you're not a home run hitter. You're a line drive hitter that can hit for a good average, and yet they expect you to hit home runs.
Well, I think that's one thing I got caught up in when I came up. I had the good home run year in Albuquerque, which, again, you know, Albuquerque, if you can hit them out of there, you know, it's hard to judge whether you can hit them out of somewhere else. You know, coming over here, Tony Muser sat me down. He says, you know, I've played against you through 4 years in the minor leagues, and believe it or not, you're not a home run hitter. You might hit 15 to 20 on a good year. He said, but you're a good contact hitter and a good RBI man, and that made me feel good and really got me thinking back in the right direction.
Well, Brock's got 13 home runs this year for the Brewers. Clancy's ahead in the count, a ball and 2 strikes. Brock has done a nice job for the Brewers. 72 RBIs, make that 73 now with that one in the 1st inning. Just misses outside. Clancy has struck out 6 through the first 3 innings, and he's sitting right now on a full count to Brock.
Another thing Brock has done is he's pushed Cecil Cooper right to the bench. Coop has not been in the game since before the All-Star break. Cooper winding down a great career here in Milwaukee, but Brock has come on and pretty much closed the door as far as Cooper's concerned here in Milwaukee. Brock's done a fine job around the bag at first. A 300 average. Pretty consistent all year long.
Pitch was a little high, and Brock draws a walk. That's the second one given up by Clancy. But since the All-Star break, Clancy is 2-4 in 11 starts. So he has struggled this second half.
There's a look at the skipper, this Milwaukee club.
Chuck Hartenstein, the pitching coach, sitting alongside. Used to be in the Blue Jay organization.
Boy, Tom Trebehorn is a pleasure to speak to about baseball. Loves to talk about his own ball club, but he really is very up about baseball. He loves his job.
That's off the bat of Rob Deere.
Another check swing. Deere, you'll recall in the first at bat, checked his swing, and the barrel end of the bat broke off, went all the way out to the mound. He's having some trouble with that inside fastball. Clancy's making some good pitches to him.
Trebehorn felt that his team is comparable to the Blue Jays, except for one area, pitching. He said, sure, there are things that the Blue Jays can do better than we can, but overall, from 1 to 9 in the lineup, we got a pretty good lineup, too.
That was a check swing. Umpire John Hurstbeck called a foul tip as Deere got his bat out over the plate and just ticked the ball. So he's in a hole here. No balls and 2 strikes.
He's looking for his first base hit off the Blue Jays in this short series.
Clancy's got him set up for that slider. He struck him out the first time on a slider. He's thrown 2 good fastballs inside. See what they choose to do here. There it is.
Long out. Oh, he hit that a ton, but it was foul.
Deere had the slider on his mind also, and Clancy didn't get it far enough away from him. Left it out over the plate. That's the problem with sliders. You leave them up in the strike zone, and they'll just sit there and say, hit me. And this guy right here has got 27 home runs, and he's a pretty good mistake-breaking ball hitter. Let's see if he goes right back to that slider and gets it off the plate outside. That's what he did. Good pitch.
That's the 6th time that Deere has struck out in this 3-game series. Twice tonight.
Nice job by Clancy and Witt here. Deere had just missed hitting a home run on that slider. They knew that they could improve on the location of it, came right back with it, and got a big strikeout.
That was an impossible pitch to hit.
It was the ball, too.
Yep.
He can lay off of it, but it's the tough pitch to lay off of. 2 strikes.
The catcher, B.J. Surhoff. He flied out in the 2nd inning.
Clancy is a pitcher with a lot of confidence on the mound right now.
1 down.
His fastball is going to the corners. He's got good velocity. He's making great pitches with that slider. That only mistake, the one he hung up in the air to Rob Deere, but he pulled it foul.
Clancy has been awesome against the West Division, 10-2, but against the East, just 2-8. And of course, the Blue Jays finished up with the best record against the West as far as New York and Detroit are concerned. Blue Jays 20 games over 500. Detroit 18 over, and the Yankees just 8 over. There goes the runner, but that pitch is put out of play by Surhoff. A ball and a strike. Brock will go back to first base. 7 strikeouts for Clancy. Look what Montreal is doing to St. Louis. Dennis Martinez on the mound. Galarraga with a couple of RBIs that we know of.
Boy, he's been killing the Cardinals. Andres Galarraga. Doesn't get any better for the Cardinals. They got to limp out of Montreal and go down to New York.
And look at the Mets are winning, so it'll be a game and a half. And the Expos will be 2 back. Mets a game and a half back. If those scores stay the same. And Houston getting back into the pennant race. San Francisco 4-0. A ball and 2 strikes to Surhoff.
Been an exciting season. Pennant races in every division. Whitey Herzog has really done a great job with that Cardinal club. They've had so many key injuries. Losing Tudor early on. Pena was out for a while.
Well, this year they're going to set an all-time record in Major League Baseball for attendance. You know, they're up over 500,000 here in Milwaukee. And this franchise, well, it's the single largest increase in the major leagues over last year. The Brewers, they've drawn, what, 1,000,007, roughly 1,000,007. They're 7th best home attendance. Two balls and 2 strikes.
Surhoff battling tough. Caught off some pretty good pitches.
They're in the 4th inning, game 2. Mike Boddicker against Doyle Alexander. Detroit won the opener 7-4. And look at Boston leading 3-2 against the Yankees tonight.
Surhoff is a good contact hitter. He's only struck out 26 times in 322 at-bats. They might start Brock here with a 2-2 count. 1 out. Thinking about possibly avoiding a double play.
And that'll go into the stands as well. Roger Clemens on the mound. He's the scheduled starter for Boston. Charlie Hudson for the Yankees. Gullickson did pitch last night. Looks like the Blue Jays will miss Gullickson. Their newest acquisition.
Well, I think that's going to be a big trade for them, picking up Gullickson. I think he'll come over there and turn it around a little bit. He is very durable. He goes out there, and I'm sure he likes being in a pennant race.
Down to Fernandez, the shortstop. To Lariano for 1. They can't turn the double play. As Surhoff, who's got some pretty good speed, beats it down the line. That'll bring up Riles, the 3rd baseman, who struck out in the 2nd inning. Well, I heard that score, Czechoslovakia leading Canada 2-0. Guess the Czechs played Canada tough in the opener. They finished tied at 4.
We'll get Wayne out there with Messier, and they'll put a couple in there tied up.
Well, let's hope you're right.
They can throw a pretty good power play. Messier, Coffey, Gretzky, Bork.
With 2 down, it's a ball and a strike to Riles. We're in the bottom of the 4th inning, tied at 1 here in Milwaukee. Blue Jays won the opening game Monday night. The Brewers came back last night. The Brewers lead the series 5-4. There goes the runner. And Riles hits it out in the left field, a base hit. Bell has got to come in and get it, as Surhoff will go to 3rd.
Bell bobbled that ball out in left field, and Riles delivers once again with a base hit. Brock didn't have a chance to advance from 3rd base as the ball just trickled away, and Bell pounced on it quickly.
So that'll bring up the shortstop, Dale Swaim. He struck out in the 2nd inning. Surhoff down at 3rd, Riles at 1st, 2 down.
It was Riles' 4th hit in this series.
Swaim had 3 hits in last night's game. Down to Lariano, should be routine to Fernandez, and they get Riles from first. So Jim Clancy gets out of trouble, and we're tied at 1 through 4. You're watching Labatt's Blue Jays baseball on TSN. His 12th home run of the season last night. He's driven in 56. He struck out in the 2nd inning. You know, if you look back to last year, Ernie had 16 home runs, 56 RBIs. So he's right there in the RBIs. For the months ago, he might get you another 3 or 4 home runs this month.
That biggest pitch right there is the biggest difference that the Blue Jays are seeing tonight in Barker, the changeup. He is throwing it with a very good motion, disguising it very well, following through as if it were a fastball, yet nothing's coming out. He's throwing it very effectively.
The 1-1 pitch. In case you missed it, the Blue Jays now will be going with a 4-man rotation. Blue Jay manager Jimmy Williams announced that before the game. Steve is out of the rotation. He'll be put in the bullpen. He only won an inning and 2/3 last night. Williams didn't feel he'd use him tonight if he had to. Castillo gets Witt at first, 1 down here in the 5th inning.
Once again, Barker uses that changeup and gets Witt to pull a soft ground ball to the second baseman.
Steve was in the bullpen last year. In fact, he got a save out of Seattle. Leach grounded out to Castillo in the 2nd inning, so he's 0 for 1. There's 3 hits for the Brewers and 2 for the Blue Jays. Barker has struck out 4. Well, Clancy has 7. We're in the 5th inning, tied at 1. It'll be a day off tomorrow for the Blue Jays, and then they'll open up that 3-game series with the Yankees on Friday. Televising Friday night's game and Saturday's game on TSN. Well, after 2 periods, Team Canada has gone ahead 3-2. Barker gets Leach, 2 down.
Mario Lemieux scored a pair. Claude Lemieux chipped in with another, and I guarantee you Gretzky put one of those on somebody's stick.
He probably put both of them on Mario's.
You know, I saw Mario get a couple in Hamilton the other night, and Gretzky and Messier were both given an assist each time. I love that game. We used to play a lot in California.
I tell you, they do play hockey out there. I remember when I moved out there in 1961. Lo and behold, they had an arena, and they actually had ice in it.
They had a team in Oakland for a while, but they didn't play hockey.
Yeah.
The Golden Seals. They had a tough go of it.
I remember a guy who used to play for that team, George Swarbrick. Remember him?
Reg Leach played there.
Yeah. Swarbrick is from Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan. That's why I remember. A ball and a strike, 2 down. Mullenix, who flied out to Deere in left field in the 2nd inning. Detroit will come into Milwaukee for a 4-game series beginning tomorrow night. Down to Swaim, the shortstop. He one-hands it, fires it across. 3 up, 3 down. And is tied at 1. Well, look at there. Buck Martinez says a Milwaukee Brewer Boy, you were sure young looking in those days.
Years ago.
You're watching Labatt's Blue Jays baseball on TSN. You're a cute little fellow. Well, the Tigers are coming to town. Starts September the 24th. On Saturday the 26th, it'll be Bittner's Scarf Day, and on Sunday, Panasonic Fan Appreciation Day. There are still some tickets available, general admission tickets. That 4-game series. Castillo, the second baseman, will lead it off. He struck out in the 3rd inning. We're tied at 1 in Milwaukee. 3 hits for the Brewers, 2 for the Blue Jays. Nelson Lariano led this game off with a double, and then Mosby with an RBI single. That was in the 1st inning. The Blue Jays scored, and then the Brewers came back in the 1st. A single by Yount. And Greg Brock had an RBI single to drive in Yount, who had gone to second on a ground out by Glenn Braggs. A ball and a strike to Castillo.
You know, you mentioned earlier how Tom Trebelhorn, the Milwaukee manager, feels that this club of his is very similar to the Blue Jays. He might not be that far off. They've got some great young players, some very promising young players. They've got some veteran players, Mulder, Yount, Gantner, who have been through the wars and can produce.
And would help any club in baseball.
The pitching staff shows a lot of promise. Barker especially impressive tonight. We saw Wegman Monday afternoon, and he threw a good ball game. They were concerned about his shoulder. He'd had some problems. They took him out after only 4 hits, 6+ innings.
That pitch is a little low, so it's a full count to Castillo.
As good as we've seen the Milwaukee pitchers in this series, we haven't even seen Teddy Higuera or Juan Nieves. They're 2 outstanding left-handers.
Clancy gives up a walk to the leadoff hitter, Castillo. Who is that on the bench? That's Jesse Barfield, isn't it?
The pressure of a pennant race.
By golly, it is. Say the magic word and the duck will drop down. Well, at least Jesse's having some fun on the bench.
That's what he needs. Get away from the pressures of going up there thinking about his batting woes. A couple days off. Come back Friday afternoon refreshed and ready to face the Yankees.
Clancy has given up 3 walks. He has struck out 7. Molitor, the hitter. He's 0 for 2. He grounded out to Fernandez and struck out in the 3rd. Pitch is outside. He was trying to bunt it.
Clancy pitching out of the stretch will shorten up his delivery measurably. There's a look at the double leaders. Molitor with 34, only 1 behind the leaders, and we've talked about it before, all the games he's missed. This is only his 95th game tonight, and he's 1 behind the leaders in doubles. Watch Clancy pitching out of the stretch here, how quickly he'll take a very short stride with that front leg, trying to quicken up and go to the plate, giving Ernie Whitt a chance should Castillo break from first.
Clancy struck him out on a slider in the 3rd. There goes the runner. The throw by Whitt. He's got a shot. They get him. Castillo is out of there.
Ernie Whitt continues to throw strikes to second base. Clancy helped him out with that short leg kick. Castillo has good speed. Watch how quick. That time Ernie Whitt gets a nice turn. Right on the money. Good job by Fernandez. He took the tag and took the throw in front of the base. Tagged Castillo.
Two balls and a strike to Molitor. That's a big out for the Blue Jays. Every time you let that leadoff hitter get on with a walk, they usually come back to haunt you.
When it's a 9th hitter like Castillo, and then you've got to face Molitor, Yount, and Braggs, the heart of this Milwaukee lineup. Molitor has really struggled in this series. Credit the Blue Jay pitching staff.
You know what impresses me about the Blue Jays this month of September? They're 6-1, and Buck, honestly, I don't think they played that well.
That's pretty much the consensus with the media people that have traveled with the club all year long. They feel like they've been fortunate. They've only had one starter win a game during that series. That was Mike Flanagan's game.
A chopper. It's a foul ball, just. Rick Reed made that call.
Tony Muser, the third base coach, held up his hand over towards the Brewer dugout saying, yeah, it was foul. Pretty close play down here. Molnix almost goes for it and then decides, well, I can't get it. It's right over the bag. That's awfully close, but it was foul. Look at the skipper.
2 balls and 2 strikes. Flanagan's got the only victory.
He pitched 8 innings in his first outing. He'll be going Friday night against the Yankees. And of course, they mentioned at the top of the show, Dave Steve has been removed from the starting rotation. Jimmy Williams going with Flanagan, Key, Cerruti, Clancy.
It's a full count to Molitor.
You know, after this off day tomorrow, the Blue Jays play 20 straight games. It'll be interesting to see how they hold up. I know how the players are holed up because they're well rested. Jimmy Williams did a good job of giving Bell an off day here and there. Barfield, Mosby, all the outfielders should be fresh. High fastball. Molitor goes after the 10th pitch from Clancy.
Speaking of 10, that's exactly what Molitor is in this series. He's 0 for 10 in this 3-game series.
High fastball out of the strike zone. Molitor goes after it.
Number 8 for Clancy with 2 down here in the 5th inning. The score is tied at 1. Robin Yount, batter. Yount, of course, MVP back in 82. 85, he underwent shoulder surgery. The first American League shortstop to lead in slugging and total bases. 33 All-Star games. He's had quite a career.
You know, I would much rather have these players to have elbow surgery. Shoulder surgery is tough to say. I can't ever get that out.
The 3-0 pitch is in there for a strike.
Boy, you mentioned 1982. Yount hit .331. 210 hits, 46 doubles, which led the league. 114 RBIs. He did all of that as a shortstop.
Tough when you fall behind the count to Yount. He'll usually jump back and get you.
I got to believe that Clancy will come with a slider here. He's got first-year player Glenn Braggs on deck. 2 outs. He doesn't want to come in too good to Yount. But he did. Bought off a fastball. Yount is a good fastball hitter.
Came into this game hitting .395 this year against the Blue Jays with a couple of home runs. 12 RBIs, not bad. Look out, that's hit deep to right field. Leach back in the corner. It's out of here, a home run. Yount with his 17th home run of the season. It's 2-1 for the Milwaukee Brewers.
Robin Yount took that pitch out over the plate, just kind of aimed at that right field corner, stayed down on it. Leach, gallant effort here. Goes as far as he can go, but runs out of room as Robin Yount puts the Milwaukee club up by a run here in the bottom of the 5th inning.
That's just the 4th hit that Clancy has given up. And you heard Jimmy Williams say it before the game. It's not that Clancy's having bad luck. It's just that we're not getting him any runs.
Tonight they've only mustered a couple hits off Barker. A lone run. And they find themselves once again behind. Clancy's giving him a good effort.
Drags the batter. He's 0 for 2. A ground out and a strikeout. These Brewers sure have been tough on the Blue Jays this year.
Good fastball inside, tied Braggs up. He had a pretty good cut at it, but it was in on his hands. Clancy will come right back. He's got Braggs deep in a hole. No ball strikes. Got a lot of room to work here. Just misses with the slider.
Down for the appeal, first base umpire Durwood Merrill, and the count goes to 2 balls and 2 strikes. Remember, the Brewers are without their ace left-hander out of the bullpen, Dan Plesac, who's out for at least a week.
And because of that, they've called up Paul Mirabella, left-handed reliever from their Denver Farm Club, right in the middle of the playoffs. They just won the first round of the playoffs down in the American Association.
Seems like he's played for every team in baseball. The left-hander was once with the Blue Jays.
He came over to the Blue Jays in 1979 from the Yankees with Chris Chambliss and Damo Garcia. For Tommy Underwood, Rick Cerrone, and Ted Wilborn. But he's up now because Plesac can't answer the bell.
A high chopper to Mulnix. To Upshaw, and they get Braggs at first base. So Robin Yount hits his 17th home run to give Milwaukee a 2-1 lead here in the 5th inning. You're watching Labatt's Blue Jays baseball on TSN. Now let's go to TSN updates. From County Stadium in Milwaukee, where the Brewers are leading the Blue Jays 2-1 tonight. And we're going to the 6th inning. McGriff, Upshaw, and Lariano, Buck Martinez, Fergie Oliver, along with our director Billy McCoy and producer Brian Schachter and the gal that makes everything work and the television truck and on the air, Stephanie Williams. We're having some fun here tonight.
Fergie.
Aren't we, Buck?
Do you know what the score is? I didn't know you could ever have fun, Ferg. When the Blue Jays are down, you got to get this game tied up.
Well, there's the man that can do it.
Yes, he can.
McGriff with his 18 home runs this year. Len Barker has allowed just 2 hits. The first 2 hitters he faced in the ballgame, Lariano and Mosby. Lariano with a double, Mosby with an RBI single. That's it. He has retired 14 in a row.
Pretty good way to start an evening. 5 innings, 2 hits, an earned run, no walks, and 4 strikeouts.
And you're looking at a guy who went to spring training as a non-roster player with the Expos, and they cut him. That's hit out into left field. It'll drop in for a base hit for Fred McGriff. And that ended a long drought for McGriff.
The Labatt's player of the game from Milwaukee will receive the Hitachi DA400 compact disc player. Hitachi's complete line of CDs features advanced digital audio technology and the most comprehensive 3-year warranty available. Hitachi, science for the senses. As well, an amateur baseball team will be the guests of the player of the game in Hitachi at a future game.
Upshaw, he struck out in the 3rd inning. Lays a bunt down, but it'll roll foul down the 3rd base side. Well, here's a case where Jimmy Williams playing for the tie, as he knows that, at least he feels he's got a better bullpen than the Brewers, who are without Plesac.
Traditionally, you don't play for a tie on the road, but Williams feels that this time of the year, maybe you do things a little bit unorthodox. Upshaw in the 9th spot. Mariano in the on-deck circle. He's trying to get Fred McGriff down to second base. You know, he could take it off and switch. Now he's got the infield moving. He might put the hit and run on. McGriff has pretty good speed. Upshaw can make contact. Let's see what they do here. That's what they did. They switched up. Riles was drawn in at 3rd, and he'll take a few steps back. Now the signs are being flashed once again. Upshaw checks John McLaren out down at 3rd base. Barker's thinking about the situation. McGriff at first. Upshaw up there.
That's foul on the right side, and Detroit leading 5-0 in that game. Boy, they just don't know when to quit, do they? They won the opening game of that doubleheader 7-4. Alexander looking for his 5th straight win.
That'll boost anybody's chances to win a pennant when you can pick up a guy like that the month of September. Of course, he came over before September, but boy, he's done a good job.
A ball and 2 strikes to Upshaw. Some action out there in the Brewers bullpen. Is that Ray Burris?
That's Ray Burris, directly out of the front office of the Brewers. Started out the season as an assistant to the general manager, minor league farm instructor, roving pitching instructor.
Base hit Upshaw, right field. As he got out in front of that one, and McGriff will stay at second. Ball came close to hitting him.
Trebelhorn's going to come out and argue that that hit McGriff on the foot. He's out to talk to Gerwood Merrill. Brock was right there. It was difficult to see. McGriff did a hopscotch, get out of the way, trying to avoid being hit by that ball.
Let's have another look at this, Buck, and see if we can pick it up.
Good breaking pitch that Upshaw hits. Now he's clearly out of the way. Nice job, Fred, getting out of the way. Of course, if that ball hits McGriff, Willie Upshaw's out. Fred McGriff's dead, goes back to first base. Ted Trebelhorn's arguing. Now he's speaking with crew chief Richie Garcia.
I think of Garcia with a smile.
I think Garcia told him, hey, if that ball would have hit McGriff, he wouldn't have made it to second base. Good job, Fred. Way to get out of the way of that. Sounds like it looked like he heard me.
He was just talking to umpire Richie Garcia. Another look at him from a different angle. No, it didn't hit him.
Nice job of hitting by Willie Upshaw.
So now Lariano will step in. He's 1 for 2 with a double tonight.
This might be the best bunter on the club. He can sacrifice. He's going to have the first baseman and third baseman charging down his throats. He's going to have to put down a pretty good bunt. Watch Riles at third creep in. Brock's way in at first.
Squares, the pitch is outside.
McGriff's going to have to be heads up. Surhoff has an outstanding arm. If he drifts too far off the bag at second, He could be caught off, as was Dale Swaim in game 1 of this series by Ernie Witt in the same situation.
Both teams with 4 base hits, and the Blue Jays are threatening here in the 6th inning.
Bunted hard to Brock at first. He'll fire across the infield to third, try to force McGriff.
Hits it deep to right field, and Braggs will catch it, and McGriff will head to third. So Lariano, as Williams took the bunt side off, hit a rope out into the corner. And Braggs made a nice play.
I thought that had a chance to get in there, but Braggs made a pretty good play on it. And Freddie McGriff did a nice job of base running as he went back tagged up and made his way into third base. There you look at the Boston-New York score. Boston up by 3 in the 7th inning. 5-0. Tigers over Baltimore, 4th inning. Tie game, Minnesota-Chicago, 1-1 in the 8th.
Lou Whitaker's got a home run in that game.
You remember Oakland already beat the Texas Rangers today. Tony La Russa has that A's team a marching. Storm Davis got his first start as an Oakland A today.
He did a pretty good job, too, didn't he?
Pitched 4 1/3, 7 strikeouts.
Off the end of the bat, but it's foul. Mosby, if you're looking for a fly ball or a ground ball.
Milwaukee's infield is going to play for a double play up the middle, shortstop, second base. If Brock gets a ball right on the bag, Richie Garcia is calling timeout now.
He's pointing toward the dugout.
Well, what's going on in the dugout?
Pull the
TV
television monitor.
Don't turn this off, guys. Wait a minute. Hey, unplug that thing, he says.
And look at the innocent look on
Jeff
Charlie
Ross,
Moore's
Charlie, what?
face.
Who, me? I'm not watching anything.
And it's Lou Thornton at the bottom of the screen.
Cartoons are on. Pull that plug.
I know I've sat down there on the odd occasion. And umpires come over. They don't want the players looking at the monitor.
Well, what they're trying to avoid is maybe picking up signs or something like that. You look at the monitor and you can see from the center field camera, catcher flashing signs. You can pick up maybe some defensive signs that are being flashed. You'll get close-ups in the dugout and everything. You can see the broadcast on the monitor. It's not a good idea to have it down there.
It is if you can get away with it.
Yeah, if you're going to put it down there, put it down the runway where nobody can see it. Just be more creative about that. You got it right on top of the bat rack, and Richie was watching it from second base.
Evens up the count to Mosby at a ball and a strike. 1 down, 6th inning. Milwaukee leading 2-1. McGriff down at third and Upshot first.
A slow hopper hit to the corners, first or third. I got to believe they'll go to the plate to get 1 out. Anything hit on the ground hard, they'll try for 2, but Mosby has good speed. Brock's a good fielding first baseman. He's holding Upshaw at first. There's a look at McGriff at third.
That's it down to Castillo, the second baseman. They can just get 1. The game is tied up. You said it, Mosby's got some pretty good speed, and that ball wasn't hit that hard.
Mosby gets an RBI on that forced out at second base. Fred McGriff with a nice job. Base hit to start the inning off, and pretty good job of pitching. He gets the ground ball, but it's a high hopper to the second baseman. Castillo trying to come in. If he can make the tag on Upshaw, he's got a chance to turn double play, but Upshaw was already by him. He had to go to second for the force.
Now remember, Mosby's got 28 stolen bases. He's sitting down there at first. Fernandez, the hitter, he's 0 for 2 tonight. It's tied at 2.
Mosby's going to work Barker for a pretty good lead here with 2 outs.
Got George Bell standing in the on-deck circle. His bat has been silent tonight.
Barker's aware of that. He goes back to first base. Lloyd knows that Barker's got a pretty good leg kick. He gets a good jump. He's got a shot at it.
Fernandez trying to keep alive his 15-game hitting streak. Here's strike.
Cincinnati trying to battle their way back into the pennant race. Look at those Expos. 8-3 in the 7th inning over the Cardinals.
That evens it up with a ball and a strike. Cincinnati 6 games back going into tonight's action. San Francisco losing to Houston 4-0. So that means that Cincinnati could pick up a game. Canada on a goal from Michel Goulet are ahead 4-2 against the Czechs. Sit down, Buck. Take it easy.
Way to go, guys.
I don't think your favorite player is playing tonight, Ricky Tocchet.
Ricky Tocchet, they got a bad knee.
Out into left field. It's going to drop in for a base hit. And Mosby hits third. He's going to be waved in. He's in there. The Blue Jays lead it 3-2. As the left fielder, Rob Deere, had trouble finding the handle of that ball.
Rob Deere knows that if he keeps it in front of him, he can keep the runners at second and third, but he lets it slip by him down that line. He's a very good defensive outfielder. He gets to it quickly, a little flare down the left field line with 2 outs. Breaking ball that Fernandez just goes with. Now it takes a funny hop and skips off his glove, caroms off that concrete railing down there, and tries to go all the way to the plate, but Mosby with good speed hustled all the way around from first base, and he scores the go-ahead run here in the top of the 6th.
That'll bring up George Bell. Bell 0 for 2 tonight. Nice play by Surhoff.
Pitch wide of the plate. He backhanded it nicely.
What future he's got. 23. First player selected in the June '85 free agent draft. First played for the U.S. Olympic team. Pitch is high. 2 balls and no strikes to Bell with 2 down. In the 6th inning, 3-2, Blue Jays leading. Lined up the middle, a base hit. Fernandez will round third, and he'll be sent to the plate. It's cut off, and the Jays take a 4-2 lead. So George Bell with his 117th run batted in this season. And here comes the manager for the Brewers, Tom Trebelhorn.
That'll be all Len Barker, I believe. Call the umpire out. Probably going to talk to him a little bit about our physical condition. Ray Burris is ready.
So Barker,
breaking ball that George Bell gets out over the plate. Pretty good pitch, and he just laced it into center field for an RBI single.
Right on the outside corner. Barker had a 2-hitter going into the 6th inning. The Jays have put 4 hits up on the board.
Trebelhorn's talking with Garcia out on the mound. There might be some question about, I can't imagine, I'm thinking maybe George Bell's bat. That's kind of far-fetched, but they're in a pretty animated argument out there. He has some question about a ruling, obviously.
So now, he's going to the bullpen.
He makes the call. Glenn Barker doesn't seem too concerned about it as Ray Burris makes his way in from the bullpen.
So the Blue Jays then have taken a 4-2 lead here with a big inning in the 6th. And let's have a look at some of the highlights, some interesting plays past week. So Garcia back over to the Blue Jay bench. Now, what are they getting out of there now? The TV set's gone. The monitor, they want the monitor out of the ballpark, not just out of the dugout.
He threw our monitor out of the game. That must be what Trebelhorn was talking about. Look at Barfield with his Groucho Marx nose getting on Garcia. You get back out there. That must have been what Trebelhorn was talking about.
Well, 37-year-old Ray Burris is out on the mound now, pitching for Milwaukee.
I like that Jesse Barfield attitude tonight. He's relaxed, kicking back, taking it easy. That's good.
This is the 7th team that Burris has pitched for. The Cubs, the Yankees, the Mets, Expos, Oakland, St. Louis. He came out of the front office to help the team. He was a special assistant to Harry Dalton. First pitch to Ernie Witt for a strike. You know, with that monitor in the dugout, I mean, that could upset Trebelhorn, no doubt about it. If you're over there stealing signs and looking at what the pitcher throws.
I think they were just interested in listening to you and I, Fergie. They didn't want to steal anything.
4-2, Blue Jays leading. Bell at first base. Fly ball to left field. Deere will wait for this one. Catch it for the 3rd out of the inning. So the Blue Jays put 3 runs on the scoreboard and take a 4-2 lead. You're watching Labatt's Blue Jays baseball on TSN. Well, Oakland beat Texas this afternoon 11-7. They're within 2.5 of Minnesota. Detroit winning the first game of that doubleheader 7-4 and leading in the second. Terrell won the first one. Alexander, the winning pitcher in the second game, or at least he's in the ball game, and he's leading right now. Boston with Roger Clemens on the mound, beating the Yankees 5-2 in the 8th. Minnesota has taken a 2-1 lead over Chicago, and they've won it. Okay, so Oakland still 3 games back, and Seattle beat Cleveland 9-4. Over in the National League, look at that score. Montreal leading St. Louis 8-3. If they win it, they're within 2 of the Cardinals, while Philadelphia losing to the Mets 9-5, and if the Mets hold on there, they'll be just a game and a half back. So what a race in that division, with Houston a 4-0 leader over San Francisco. Through 5, Clancy has thrown 104 pitches. That's an awful lot of pitches. Greg Brock leads it off here in the bottom of the 6th inning for Milwaukee.
Clancy will always throw a large number of pitches. He works deep in the count. Oh, he's awful strong, though. I don't think it's going to bother him. It's a cool night. Good night for a pitcher to work.
He's ahead in the count, 0-2. Since the All-Star break, Brock has been hitting .328. With an RBI single in the first inning. And he walked to lead off the 4th.
Clancy jammed him in the first inning. He fought it off into right field for the first run of the game. Chased a bad pitch. Fastball up and away. And
number 9 for Jim Clancy.
Clancy's got his strikeouts going tonight. That will also add to your total of pitches when you strike out a lot of guys. That's why it takes more pitches to strike someone out than it does to hit them out on a ground ball or fly out. 9 strikeouts for Jim Clancy.
You look back to the last inning when he struck out Malador. It took him 10 pitches to do that. Rob Deere, who has struck out twice tonight, steps in. Clancy's season high for strikeouts was 11 against Kansas City in a 3-2 victory. He struck out 11 in 7 2/3. A 4-2 Blue Jay lead. Friday night, we'll be televising that first game of the Yankee series, the Blue Jays, Mike Flanagan against Ron Guidry. And then we'll do Saturday's game as well, Jimmy Key against Tommy John. Sharply hit ball down to Mullenix, the third baseman, and they get Deere. 2 down here in the 6th. And that'll bring up the catcher, B.J. Surhoff.
Catcher,
He's 0 for 2.
Surhoff.
The plan was to establish the fact you're going to throw all your pitches tonight. That was Ernie Witt's idea. Jim Clancy has carried it out. It's resulted in only 2 runs and 4 hits through 5 2/3 innings.
We're talking about that Yankees series. The Blue Jays have won their last 9 home series. So that's good news to take in against the Yankees. Remember what happened last time the Yankees were in town? They swept the series. Surhoff lines that one to left field for a base hit with 2 down here in the 6th inning. And the Blue Jays won all 3 in New York.
Third baseman, Ernest Royal.
I don't want to sing gloom and doom, but they've got their motivators at the top of the lineup back healthy again. Ricky Henderson, Willie Randolph. Winfield 2 nights ago, 4 hits. He's starting to click again after a post-All-Star break drought. Pal Rulo hit his 32nd home run last night.
Riles the hitter. He's 1 for 2. Struck out in the 2nd, singled in the 4th. There's a base hit into right field. Leach charges that ball, and he gets it back into the infield in a hurry as Surhoff will stay at 2nd. So now the Jays, Jim Clancy in trouble here in the 6th inning with 2 down. Ernie Witt has called for time, and he'll go up to the mound to talk to Clancy.
Riles has done a good job of hitting as you look at Jeff Musselman throwing down in that bullpen. And I know that Jimmy Williams would have liked to not had to use him, and he's checking that phone down there to see how Musselman is. He's been bothered with some shoulder problem. Like to have been able to not use him today, give him another extra day tomorrow.
Musselman told us before the game he would rather not pitch tonight, but if he had to, he would, just so he get that extra day's rest.
Riles with 2 hits in tonight's game now has 5 hits in the series.
Dale Swaim, the shortstop, with 3 hits last night.
Musselman has sat down now. John Sullivan standing close by. Evidently, he felt he couldn't go. Eichhorn replaces him.
Inside for a ball.
He probably asked.
Here comes Williams.
We're going to go out here and have a little discussion with his battery. Say, listen, fellas, you're getting away from your game plan a little bit. You've omitted the breaking pitch, something you did so effectively early on. How you doing, Jimmy?
Williams hasn't hesitated to use the hook.
I don't think anybody's ready right now.
No. I don't think he'll use the hook here in this particular instance.
Just a reminder, sometimes you get in a ball game and forget about trends, and you call 3 or 4 pitches in a row, and all of a sudden you've thrown 6 or 7 straight fastballs. You look at Eichhorn loosening up quickly down in the Blue Jay pen. But you get in the heat of a ball game, and you keep thinking strike, 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 and all of a sudden I need to throw a strike, and now you've thrown 4 or 5 fastballs in a row, and you get away from your game plan.
Eichhorn will be our guest on extra innings tonight. A ball and no strikes to Dale Swaim, the shortstop. Pitch is low, 2-0.
Swaim's been a very good run producer for the Blue Jays. For the Brewers, he leads the team 79 RBIs. Good slider. Right at the knees and broke low. What Clancy has to do, throw it when he's behind. That's what he did early in the game. He got away from it a little bit in this inning. After retiring the first two batters, Brock on strikes, Deere on a ground ball.
Here's the 2-1 pitch. First strike. So you've got Surhoff at second, Riles at first. 2 down, bottom of the 6th inning. Blue Jays lead by 2.
Just catches the outside corner with a fastball. Perfect spot, running away from the left-handed hitter. Swayed. Clancy's even the count at 2-2.
I'd say there's about 15 to 16,000 fans here at County Stadium tonight to watch this. Although they've been averaging just over 24,000.
Well, school's back in session. This is school night. Kids can't come out to the ballpark.
Clancy gets him, strikeout number 10. What a job he has done tonight. So through 6, the Blue Jays lead it 4-2. You're watching Labatt's Blue Jays baseball on TSN. From County Stadium in Milwaukee, the Toronto Blue Jays are leading 4-2. And we're going to the 7th inning. Rick Leach will lead it off for Toronto. Mullenix and McGriff. It'll be Toque Day when the Yankees come to town. And that will be Sunday, September the 13th. Free Blue Jays Toques for the first 20,000 fans that come to the game. And you've got to know that there's going to be at least 44 to 46,000 there, I would think. Ray Burris on the mound for Milwaukee.
There's going to be some Toque-less fans there. Too many people. Took me a long time to figure out what a Toque was.
Oh, look at that pitch.
They sure come in handy, though. They've done a nice job. They're very attractive over the years. There's the Blue Jay logo.
Well, Canada beat Czechoslovakia 5-3. Brian Propp got the game's final goal, and Mario Lemieux named the player of the game with 2 goals and an assist. So it'll be Canada against the Soviet. Alan Eagleson couldn't have planned it any better as Leach lines one up the middle to lead it off here in the 7th inning. Of course, that game will be Friday. It's a best-of-3 series. Is it Friday, Sunday, and Tuesday? It goes to the 3rd game.
Jesse Barfield's going to pinch run for Rick Leach. That's a double-edged move as Barfield will come in with good speed, and he'll be placed in right field for defensive purposes. He left his nose and mustache on the bench.
So now Mullenix stares down at Johnny McLaren, the 3rd base coach. With nobody out here in the 7th, will he drop one down and advance Barfield?
You got to be thinking of insurance run. The only thing about that is if he bunts him over, McGriff will be walked and he'll be pitching to Willie Upshaw, I would believe. No bunt here.
That's hit into the left field corner. Barfield will round second. He'll stay there. Nice play by Deere out in left field. That had double written all over it.
Deere has a strong arm, and he got over there and cut that ball off. Barfield well aware of this. Everything was in front of Barfield, so he had the judgment in his own hands. And he opted to hold up at second, I believe, wisely. Watch Deere's throw here. Sets himself, fires it into 3rd base. Nice throw.
So Kelly Gruber will go in to pinch run for Mullenix. Len Barker started this game for Milwaukee. He went 5 2/3, gave up 4 runs, 6 hits, struck out 4, and didn't walk anybody.
Well, I think Jimmy Williams has really settled into this manipulation of players in and out of the game. I think he's really gotten comfortable knowing that in this spot I'm going to use this guy and I'm going to put this guy in for defense. Really pushing the right buttons here recently.
Okay, when you start taking George Bell out of a ball game late in the game, you better make sure you're in command.
Well, you got to give him credit. He's making the move.
Yeah.
That's his decision. He's going to make the move, and that's what he's done. He's done it with a very positive hand. Tom Treblehorn comes out. Mark Clear's warming up for the Brewers. Treblehorn's going to come out here and discuss things with Ray Burris. He's got Clear ready. Larry Haney, the bullpen coach.
And Burris has only faced 3 hitters, and he's given up back-to-back singles here in the 7th. He came in the 6th and got Ernie Witt on a fly ball to Deere in left field to end the inning.
Talking defense right there with Ernie Riles. He's a converted shortstop playing third base, so he's not real familiar with the defensive plays in a bunt situation. There goes the call to the bullpen. They want Clear in here.
You know, when you look out there at the bullpen, you think of Toronto's bullpen, and you look at all the appearances that, you know, a guy like Eichhorn with 78, you've got Henke with 64, Musselman. Now, there's the guy that's been out of action for a few days now with that tender left arm, and as you said, Buck, before the game we were talking to him, and he said, well, I'd rather not pitch tonight unless I absolutely have to. And you know, we got talking about when you come into a ball game, and he's been in them 59 times, how many more times over the course of a season does a pitcher get up out there and throw, and he's not used?
Well, you got to believe if he's got 59 appearances, he's thrown another 50 times out there in the bullpen. So even though he's not in the game, he's getting up as if he was going into a game, especially for a young pitcher like Musselman, who might not really know how to warm up and how to get ready and prepare himself for a game. He goes all out every time the phone rings down there, and it might have had something to do with the way his shoulder feels right now.
Well, you've got Eichhorn out there who, you know, he's got 78 appearances, and yet last year he only had 69. He was 5 innings short of qualifying, but he's got 50-some fewer innings, or let's see, about 48 fewer innings this year, although he's got a lot more appearances.
That's right. He just hasn't been that effective, and he's been in there for an inning or so, and last year he stretched him out 3 or 4 innings at a time.
Well, Mark Clear, the right-hander, is now in the ball game, and we're in the 7th inning. Nobody out. Jesse Barfield is down there at second base. He came on as a pinch runner for Rick Leach, who had singled, and then Mullenix, who singled, was out of the game, and Kelly Gruber came in to pinch run for him. The batter will be Fred McGriff. So that's where we stand. The Blue Jays are leading at 4-2. Clear this season against the Blue Jays is 0-1 in 4 appearances. He has pitched just 4 1/3 innings. He's given up 8 hits, 8 earned runs. He's walked 7, struck out 3, and has an ERA of 16.63. So he did do a good job, though, Monday night. He pitched an inning and a third, gave up a couple of walks, no hits or runs, and struck out 1. He came over from Boston for infielder Ed Romero, who's doing a nice job for the Red Sox. And that was in December of '85.
Fred McGriff's up here. He doesn't have a sacrifice bunt, and I don't think he'll get one in this situation. Jimmy Williams got to have him swinging the bat in my mind.
Brock creeping in at first.
Good rip at a fastball.
Claren looks into the dugout for the sign, now flashes it to McGriff.
Maybe they give him a shot. I don't think they're going to have him bunt. They haven't had him bunt all year long in the sacrifice situation. Right side of the infield is deep. They're not expecting bunt. Another good cut.
When you look at McGriff's on-base percentage this year, 388. Although he has struck out a lot. 93 times he has struck out this season. So he goes down for the second time in the ball game. And that'll bring up Willie Upshaw.
Big strikeout for a mark clear. He gets power hitting Fred McGriff on a breaking ball. He's got that good curveball. It's just been a matter of whether or not he can throw it over the plate. He threw that one very nicely.
Expos win their game 8-3. Just 2 back of the Cardinals now. And the Mets also won 11-5, and they're just a game and a half back. So it's getting a little tighter over there. Wow. Cubs against the Expos on TSN Friday afternoon. You don't want to miss that. That's from Wrigley Field. And of course, the Cardinals will be in New York to play the Mets this weekend.
That's just what you want when you get beat 3 in a row in Montreal and have to go down and face those fans in Shea with the Mets only a game and a half back. Should be a tough series.
Upshaw takes a strike. Didn't like the call. The home plate umpire John Hirschbeck. It's a ball and a strike, 1 down, 7th inning. Barfield at second, Gruber at first. 4-2. Jays lead it. 8 hits for Toronto, 6 for Milwaukee. Detroit won the first game of their doubleheader 7-4. They're leading 5-0 in the second. It's in the 7th inning now in that second game.
Doyle Alexander doing another fine job.
Roger Clemens beats the Yankees tonight 5-3. Jim Rice hit a solo home run. And Benzinger, the rookie outfielder, hit a home run too for Boston.
Upshaw chases a high fastball, maybe a little bit out of frustration.
Clemens is 16-8 now. The loser was Charlie Hudson at 9-6.
16-8. Oh, he's come back and had a great year.
A high chopper in the infield. One play, and that's to get Upshaw first base. Well, Barfield heads to third, Gruber at second, 2 down, and that'll bring up Nelson Lariano, the leadoff hitter. Blue Jays would love to pad their lead here. Lariano, he's 1 for 3 tonight. First inning double. Mosby brought him in with an RBI single.
Actually, he's hit the ball hard 3 times. He flew out into right center to Robiney out in the 3rd and hit a line drive in the 6th to right field that Braggs made a fine running catch on.
Breaking ball for a strike.
If Lariano can pick up Greg Brock at first base, he's really dropping back. As Clear gets set to deliver, he might be able to drag one down the first baseline.
How many strikeouts that rookie has. Inside.
Nolan Ryan. He's still throwing it hard.
Yep.
Blue Jays could use a run or 2 here as insurance. They got a couple runners on to start the 7th.
Another strike to Lariano. Clear appears to be very deceiving out there.
Oh, he's tough to pick up. The way he comes across his body with that big sweeping breaking pitch, the only problem he has is getting it close to the plate. But he has an outstanding curveball.
2 balls and 2 strikes with 2 down.
He's been troubled with control this year. He's falling behind hitters, had to come in there with the fastball. If he gets that curveball over, it can be extremely tough. That's what he did last year and finished the season with a 2.20 ERA.
He gets Lariano and gets the Brewers out of a jam here in the 7th inning. 4-2, Toronto leading. You're watching Labatt's Blue Jays baseball on TSN. Bottom of the 7th inning, 8 hits for the Blue Jays, 6 for the Brewers. The Jays lead it 4-2. Jesse Barfield is now in playing right field with 15 assists out there. Kelly Gruber has moved in to play third base. He's made 12 errors this season. So Juan Castillo, the second baseman, will lead it off for the Brewers. He's the number 9 hitter in the Brewer lineup. He struck out in the 3rd, walked in the 5th. He was 3 for 6 in the first 2 games with 3 RBIs. So it's been tough on the Blue Jays in this series. The guy who's hitting just .226 coming into this ball game. Jim Clancy has struck out 10.
Castillo filling in for the injured Jim Gantner. Really done a pretty good job.
Another infielder from San Pedro, DeMarco Reese.
Clancy's done a great job tonight. Really checked this Brewer club with that home run to Yount in the 5th inning. Other than that, he's been awfully tough.
Ground ball to Lariano, who backs up a couple of steps and makes the play. That'll bring up Paul Molitor. He's 0 for 10. He still has not had a base hit in this 3-game series.
For the season, Molitor is now 5 for 35. So he has had a tough go of it against Toronto this year.
He's 3rd in the American League in on-base percentage behind Boggs and Evans. His 39-game hitting streak would help that a bit, wouldn't it? 4th in stolen bases. That'll go back into the seats. So it's a ball and a strike to Molitor.
His plight recently would make you realize the accomplishment of a 39-game hit streak. A guy like that can see the ball so well and produce so effectively over a 6-week period, and then shortly thereafter can't figure out how to get a base hit.
Lariano can't get that one, and he finally does get a hit. That'll bring up Robin Yount, who hit a home run in his last at bat. And they're up in the Blue Jay bullpen. On the day off.
Finally gets on base. Dwayne Ward's heating up down in that bullpen for the Blue Jays. He's done a nice job since being recalled from Syracuse. Jimmy Williams out to talk to Clancy. David Wells is the left-hander. Of course, Musselman tried to go earlier. His arm wouldn't respond, and they're going to go right to Dwayne Ward, the right-hander.
Well, Ward really has done a nice job, but the story of tonight's game belongs to the man on the mound, Jim Clancy.
No question about it. Clancy was awfully tough tonight. 10 strikeouts, giving up only 2 runs.
He's had 2 wins and 2 no decisions in his last 4 starts. Prior to that, he had lost 4 in a row. So he's looking at a victory. His last 2 victories, he beat Seattle 6-3 and Oakland 13-3. And his last start was a no decision against Seattle. But a nice hand for Jim Clancy, who struck out 10. And while we're waiting, let's have a look at some bloopers, and we're going to have a few chuckles with these. I always get a kick out of watching those.
Enjoy the bloopers. They're fun to watch.
Well, Dwayne Ward got his first win on Monday night. He pitched an inning, gave up a walk, and got Yount on a fielder's choice and Braggs to hit into a double play. And that was his first major league win. Then he came back last night, pitched an inning in the third, didn't give up any hits, walked one and struck out one. And he's done a nice job since being called up from Syracuse. He's got a tough customer to face here in Robin Yount. Molitor at first. The Brewers down by 2. Ward can throw some heat.
Well, you know, since they moved him to the bullpen down in Syracuse after a couple shaky starts, they moved him in the bullpen, and he's really responded. For the time being, he's done a great job out of the pen. I feel that eventually he'll be a good starter. I think he's got that kind of stuff. But right now, it was simply a matter of him finding the control. And Doug Ault, the manager, I'm sure discussed it with Al Whitmore, the Major League pitching coach, what was best for Dwayne Ward in the future of Dwayne Ward as a Blue Jay.
Tell you one thing about the Jays now, Buck, with Steve moving to the bullpen, and if you can get 5 or 6 good innings out of Flanagan, Key, Cerruti, and Clancy, your 4 starters, look what you've got out there in the bullpen. With Ward and Hankey and Steve, Eichhorn, Nunez, Wells, Musselman.
The big key is, how's Dave Steve going to react to this? Go down there and have a positive attitude, come out and say, hey, I can really contribute, pitch well out of the bullpen. I would think that would be all he can do at this point, trying to make the best of it.
I think he'll react fine.
I think so.
You know, he's upset tonight.
Disappointed, I think, probably more than anything, and he knows he's had a rocky road the last 4 starts.
He's had a pretty good year.
You betcha.
He has struggled in his last 4 starts, no question about that. But he was 13-5. He's 13-8 now.
Over the course of the summer, we related 12 victories out of spring training, and the Blue Jays would have been happy. He's 113.
Ward has fallen behind 3-1 to Robin Yount. 1 down, bottom of the 7th inning. There goes the runner. That ball is hit down the line, but it is foul by a good margin.
In both of the first 2 games of this series, when Ward came into the game, he walked the first batter he faced. The first game Monday afternoon, the first batter to face Ward was Molitor. Paul reached on a walk and eventually raced on a Glenn Bragg's 6-4-3 double play.
Maybe they can get a strikeout and get Molitor running. Same place, that foul ball.
That's what they've done to Robin Yount. They're going away from him. And he has recognized that fact, and he's staying right on, not trying to pull it. He hit the home run off Clancy down there in the right field corner. He is a very, very good student of hitting, and he knows that Dwayne Ward throws hard, and he'll probably just try to go with that outside pitch to the right side of the field.
Look out! That might go foul, and it does. Oh, was that close? He hit that a country mile.
Robin Yount is, he's got that good leverage. He's a low ball hitter. He'll go down out over the plate and get it.
Now Fernandez comes in to talk to Ward.
Tremendous leverage. He goes right down after this pitch and just drives it out there to right field. Just barely slicing foul. Just about tied this thing up.
Line into right field, a base hit. Molitor will go to third. Barfield fires it back in. So the Brewers have runners at the corner, 1 down.
You've just seen a classic at bat by a great hitter, Robin Yount. took that fastball out over the plate and just laced it into right field. Ward comes in there. He's got the count full. He's got to come right in there, but Yount does a great job of hitting. All his momentum going right towards the ball, right side of the field.
Now Ward will be facing Glenn Braggs, who's 0 for 3 tonight.
In that situation with the full count, Ward had to come in there. Want to try to keep him in the ballpark, obviously.
David Wells, the left-hander, and Mark Eichhorn was up. It looks like Tom Hankey is up now in the bullpen.
With a young pitcher like Ward, Witt has to make sure that he utilizes all his pitches. He's got a slider, occasional curveball, but basically since his move to the pen, he's throwing simply fastball slider. We look at the bullpen. But Ernie Witt has to make sure he manages Dwayne Ward through this inning.
Hit high in the air and deep to right field, but Barfield is there. He'll make the play. Molitor will come in to score. It is 4-3. A sacrifice fly RBI for Glenn Braggs. Two down. Out at first, and the batter will be Greg Brock. And here comes Jimmy Williams.
Sure, he's going to go to David Wells, who's loose down there. There's Wells going to get his jacket. Ward comes in, faces two batters, gives up a single to Yount, sacrifice fly to Glenn Braggs.
Well, Wells pitched in last night's game, faced just two hitters, and gave up back-to-back singles. Well, we've got a few final scores in tonight, so why don't we have a look at the standings in the American League East Division. You've got Detroit, who won the first game of their doubleheader 7-4. Terrell got the win, and they're leading 5-0 in the second game. Alexander on the mound, and Boddicker started for Baltimore. And the Blue Jays, of course, here leading 4-3 now, with 2 down in the 7th inning. Hankey's in the bullpen. He continues to throw. The Yankees lost tonight, so they dropped another game back. And Milwaukee, of course, 8.5 back. Now, over in the West, Minnesota won 2-1 over Chicago, and Oakland beat Texas 11-7. Kansas City still 5 games back. But the big story tonight in the National League, in the East Division, where Montreal beat the St. Louis Cardinals, and now they have moved to within 2. And the Mets won their game tonight, and they're just a game and a half back. The Mets were playing Philadelphia tonight. It was Raleigh against Aguilar. So Philadelphia, they're 10.5 back and pretty well out of the story. Houston beating San Francisco 4-0 was the last score we had. So they could pick up a game. It's 4-2 late in the game. So they could pick up a game on San Francisco. Cincinnati won. They beat the Dodgers tonight. So as far as Atlanta, the Dodgers, and San Diego, they're out of the picture. But this is an important game, as they all are here in the month of September, for the Blue Jays.
Well, unfortunately, Jeff Musselman tried to get up and throw down in that bullpen earlier. He couldn't get loose. David Wells will get the call. You look at his numbers. A win and 2 losses. 12.38. This will be his 7th appearance. It's just 8 innings, and he's allowed 11 earned runs.
But he's done a nice job since he was recalled from Syracuse. He got his first win against California in relief. Pitched against Seattle. Did a nice job there.
Brock singled off Wells in last night's ball game in the 7th inning.
Remember the 2-run homer Brock hit Monday night off the left-hander John Cerruti. So Wells ahead in the count 0-1. Robin Yount down at first base. He can steal you a base. He's got one already tonight, 17 on the season. 4-3, Blue Jays leading, 2 down. Bottom of the 7th inning here at County Stadium in Milwaukee.
Wells has pretty good velocity. We talked about what Brock tries to do. Likes the ball out over the plate. Wells has a pretty good curveball. Witt's moving outside now.
Base hit into right field. Yount will stay at second. So now that'll bring up Rob Deere, who's hit 27 home runs. Now, does he go to Tom Henke here? I would rather suspect he might. And out comes Jimmy Williams. All he wanted Wells to do was to get the left-handed hitting Greg Brock. He couldn't do that.
You'd like not to have to bring Henke in this situation, but you've got an off day tomorrow.
Yep.
Name of the game is win them one at a time and worry about Friday, Saturday, and Sunday in a couple more days. So Jimmy Williams has to make the move. Tough to fault that young left-hander. He's up here to contribute, but the guy they'd like to have in the game in this situation is Jeff Musselman. He can't respond because he's battling a sore arm right now.
A big story here in Milwaukee tonight took place before the game when Jimmy Williams announced that Dave Stieb was out of the starting rotation and he would go with a 4-man rotation in Flanagan, Key, Cerruti, and Clancy for this final month. And Dave Stieb will be in the bullpen. So it'll be interesting to see how Stieb will do the rest of the month. I think it'll strengthen the ball club.
Oh, no question. If he comes out of the pen, throwing hard, throwing strikes, it'll be very valuable.
It was interesting how manager Jimmy Williams went around and spoke to Flanagan and told him what he was going to do, told Key, told Cerruti, and told Clancy. And with Key, I think he spent a little more time because you know he's had arm problems. And the question is, will it put too much stress on his arm?
I don't think it'll put too much stress on his arm. He feels like that 10-day span where he got off a couple starts ago refreshed him a little bit. The biggest thing about his communicating with the starters is the fact it throws off their whole regime of extra throwing and everything. He just wanted to inform them what the deal was going to be. He'll now be pitching in a 4-man rotation. Make the appropriate adjustments. You'll pitch, then you'll go around and around, do your extra throwing, and after that, it was just a matter of telling them what the deal was. Now you had a 4-man rotation.
Well, Buck, you had a chance to talk with Tom Henke earlier, so let's listen in to that conversation to find out if there was just a little extra pressure at this time of the year.
I don't know. I guess it's there. The pressure's there. I try to approach each game the same way. Just throw strikes and make the guys hit the ball. The only time I really get in a lot of trouble is when I start walking people. And if I'm going to get beat, you know, I just go out there with the same frame of mind every time. If I'm going to get beat, I'm going to get beat with my best stuff, throwing strikes and not hurting myself.
Well, he got his 32nd save of the season Monday night here at County Stadium. He went 2 innings, gave up a hit, walked 1, and struck out 3. But he had just a bit of a rough 9th inning.
Well, he's got a good strikeout candidate here in the person of Rob Deere, who now has 160 strikeouts on the season. But unfortunately, Rob Deere also has a lot of power. So it's power against power here.
Just inside for a ball. Henke struck out Deere in the 8th inning Monday night. He struck out the first 2 hitters he faced. Down the line, base hit into the corner. This game is tied. Bell fires it in. A double for Rob Deere.
Timely piece of hitting by Rob Deere. Gets his 73rd RBI. It's a fastball he turns on and just keeps it fair inside the bag at third. Hits it down in the corner. George Bell does a nice job to corral it down in the corner and hold Brock at third base. But wouldn't you know it, the first time Paul Molitor gets a hit in this series, he comes around to score the third run, and the Brewers rally to tie the game here in the bottom of the seventh.
The catcher, B.J. Surhoff, will face Henke with 2 down. It's tied at 4. 10 hits for the Brewers, 8 for the Blue Jays. Surhoff tonight 1 for 3, as you can see. Base hit into center field. That'll score 2 runners. It is 6-4.
There's a happy Brewer dugout. B.J. Surhoff is supposed to be an outstanding fastball hitter. He struck out Monday against Henke and got on top of that fastball and drove it into left center for 2 RBIs. He got up there with Henke's fastball and came through with a big 2-out single.
The batter now is Riles, who's 2 for 3 tonight. So it is 6-4. The Brewers striking for 4 runs here in the bottom of the 7th inning. There goes the runner. The throw by Witt. He's in there. Surhoff with his 11th stolen base of the season.
We told you that guy can do a lot of things for a young player.
Henke never even looked over there, did he?
Good speed. Henke forgot all about him. Ernie Witt had no chance here as Surhoff has good speed, got all the way down there. That's steal number 11 for the young Brewer catcher.
It's a ball and a strike to Riles.
Quite a sudden turnaround here at County Stadium in the 7th inning. 4 runs in.
As we look ahead to the 8th inning, you've got the heart of the Blue Jay order coming up. Mosby, Fernandez, and Bell. Inside to Riles, evens up the count at 2-2.
We've talked about this ball club all series long. They've always been tough on the Blue Jays. They never say die. Tom Trebelhorn has his team fighting tooth and nail. They have dim hopes of a pennant. Flickering hopes, but they're not going to give up.
High fly ball to left center field. Bell will call for it for the 3rd out. So the Brewers strike for 4 and take a 6-4 lead. You're watching Labatt's Blue Jays baseball on TSN. Well, in the clutch hitting department, the Milwaukee Brewers 5 for 9 with runners in scoring position, but there were 4 for 5 here in the bottom of the 7th inning, and that's where they've done all the damage with their 4 runs. Mark Clear stands to pick up the victory here. If the Brewers can hold on, it'll be Mosby, Fernandez, and Bell here in the 8th inning.
Boy, Clear came on in that 7th inning after the first 2 batters, Leach and Molnix, had singled. And he struck out Fred McGriff, got Willie Upshaw a little force out, and then came up with a big strikeout of Nelson Liriano with runners in 2nd and 3rd. Good job of relief.
Mosby tonight, a couple of RBIs and a base hit. Oh, how the tables have turned here at County Stadium.
Mosby thought that was high. Hirschbeck's going to argue back with him. He said, okay, all right, you called it. I'll get back in here. No problem. Mosby's got Brock way back on the grass at first base. If he can pick him up out of the corner of his eye, maybe he can put a bunt down and get on base.
Hit into left field. Deere draws a beat on it. He's got it.
Shortstop, Tony Fernandez.
So Rob Deere with a clutch base hit off of Tom Henke. Double and a couple of RBIs. Tony Fernandez, 1 for 3 tonight. Step in against Mark Clear, the right-hander. The Brewers have the best record against the Eastern Division clubs. 34 wins, 20 losses, 14 over 500. The Jays just 8 over 500 against the East.
We'd like to get Fernandez on here in front of George Bell. Blue Jays down by 2 runs. Like to see George come up there with a chance to tie it up.
There's a strike. 1-1 to Fernandez. Tony has now extended his hitting streak to 16 games. Was that double in the 6th inning?
Clear hasn't shown the problems he's faced all year long in this particular series. Pitched an inning and a 3rd on Monday. Very effective relief. A strikeout, a couple of walks, no hits.
3 career saves against Toronto. The full count to Fernandez. Sort of a half swing, and that ball's out of play.
You see, Clear had a little more confidence in his slider than he did his fastball with that full count to Fernandez. Even though he's aware that Bell's the on-deck batter, and Bell represents the potential tying run. Once again,
Brock will have to flip it to Clear, and he's there to cover for the 2nd out.
nice play by Greg Brock.
George Bell.
This is the thing that pitchers and first basemen work on early in spring training for hours. Covering first base is a very important play. It can be dangerous if that pitcher doesn't stay inside the line at first base. Mark Eichhorn is a witness of that, as he was spiked by Darnell Coles last year.
And if you forget to cover first, there's an automatic fine.
Generally. But Brock and Clear executed perfectly. And there's 2 down here in the 8th.
George Bell has a base hit tonight. And an RBI. 117 on the season. Pitch looked like it was a little outside. Home plate umpire John Hirschbeck calls it a strike.
Well, Mark Clear, when he throws that big breaking ball over the plate, is extremely tough. There it is, little tapper.
Could go for a base hit. Riles has got to hurry. Bell is there, beats it out.
Nice play by Greg Brock. Scooped it out of the ground. Handles himself pretty well around the bag at first. And Riles makes a nice play on this little check swing tapper. Clear can't get it. Watch him barehand it on the first in the dirt. Brock digs it out, but George Bell hustles and beats it up for a base hit.
Now you've got Ernie Wood at the plate, who hit a home run last night. He's 0 for 3 in this ball game.
They're going to play behind Bell at first base. Get Brock back off the bag. That'll give him a little more range. Bell's run, of course, doesn't mean all that much.
2 down, 8th inning. 6-4.
Defense, that's what Brock's going to do.
No strike. Witt's got 7 career home runs off Milwaukee pitching. That's hit far and deep. Will it stay fair? No. He hit it a long way, though.
Ernie Witt hit that one on the nose, but pulled that breaking ball just foul. Had plenty of length. Gonna get a little better direction, and this game's tied up. Jesse Barfield's on deck. You remember he came in the game as a pinch runner in the 7th for Rick Leach. So Jimmy Williams has his powerful bat. Standing on deck.
No balls and 2 strikes to Witt. Look out, high and tight. Moves him off the plate.
That's something that hasn't been a part of the game for a few years, and I think it's a lost art. Clear obviously didn't want to hit Witt in that situation to put him on.
So Detroit sweeps the doubleheader. Alexander gets the win. He's 5-0 now. Off the handle. Nice play by Brock to clear, and they get Witt at first base. 6-4, Milwaukee leading. You're watching Labatt's Blue Jays baseball on TSN. You go back to the 6th inning. George Bell had this RBI single to give the Blue Jays a 4-2 lead off of Len Barker. Barker left the game, but the Brewers came back as Rob Deere in the 7th inning hit a double down the left field line, just inside the third base bag, and that tied it up at 4. And then B.J. Surhoff with a base hit, a couple of RBIs off of Henke, put the Brewers up 6-4, and that's where we stand right now. Henke is still on the mound. He's got a strike against the shortstop, Dale Swaim. High and tight to Swaim.
Well placed. Don't get too comfortable up there, Mr. Swaim. That's what Henke has to say about that. Just another pitch. Back with an off-speed pitch that misses. Unfortunately, the 2 starters who pitched fairly effective were out of the game and long forgotten. Len Barker, Jim Clancy, both doing a nice job.
Barker went 5 2/3 and gave up 6 hits, struck out 4. 4 runs. Clancy went 6 1/3, 7 hits, 2 runs, struck out 10, and walked 3. He did a real nice job tonight. There's a strike, a full count now to Swaim, the shortstop.
Henke's got to get a hold of his emotions. I'm sure he's upset with the outcome of the 7th inning. He's got to smooth it out. Give his ball club a chance to get back in the game. Good fastball there. Bell's got a long run.
Can he get to it?
Yes. Out of reach. Henke holds the Brewers here in the 8th. They'll have Barfield, Gruber, and McGriff in the top of the 9th. Watch Rick Reed. He kind of bumps Gruber out of the way. Well, maybe pass interference on that call. He was elbowing him on the way down there.
And Gruber had no chance to get to the ball. A full count to Swaim. Fouls another one out. Mike Flanagan against Ron Guidry. Friday night. You can watch that right here on TSN at 7:30 Eastern. And then Saturday, Jimmy Key against Tommy John. That's at 1:30, also on TSN. Sunday, John Cerruti against Rick Rhoden, as Henke gets a strikeout here.
Henke with the off-speed pitch to Swaim. Swaim's down in the bottom of the 8th. Strike one, just dips down at the end.
Well, Henke came in the 7th inning and faced Deere. He hit a fastball, and so did Surha for a base hit.
Surha faced Henke in a pinch hit role on Monday afternoon. Struck out. There's a good changeup. Surha struck out on an 0-2 fastball out of the strike zone. And this last time he faced Henke, he got that fastball down a little bit in the strike zone and hit it on the nose in the left center.
Out of play, it's a ball and 2 strikes to Castillo. Blue Jays after tonight. 23 games left. High in the air to right field, and Barfield started back, turned and came in on the ball, 2 down. That'll bring up the leadoff hitter. The igniter, Paul Molitor.
Boy, he got everything going for the Brewers in the 7th with 1 out after Castillo had grounded to second. Molitor singled. Count single. Braggs with a sacrifice fly, and then the roof caved in.
Blue Jays will have 13 home games remaining. 10 on the road after tonight. 4 in New York, 3 in Detroit, and 3 in Baltimore.
You can see Henke talking to himself on the mound, trying to get himself to stay back, smooth out your delivery. Came back with another changeup. Throw much better.
So if the Blue Jays lose it tonight, Detroit will pick up a game and a half. That is quite a swing in one night, isn't it, late in the season?
Another good off-speed pitch. You know, your initial reaction is, oh, man, the Tigers got rained out. Now they're going to have a tough doubleheader to play. And you find out they win both of them. And not such a tough night for the Tigers after all. They took 2 easily from Baltimore.
Houston beating San Francisco 4-2. Hammaker got the victory, or I should say took the loss. Nolan Ryan got the win. He's 7-14. Kevin Bass hit a home run. Two-run shot, his 18th home run of the season.
And they're close to within 4.5 of the Giants.
A full count to Molitor.
You know, we talked about the Giants all year long. I think they got enough to go all the way this year.
And in the left center field, Bell coming over, and he'll make the play. So we're heading to the 9th inning. The Blue Jays are trailing by 2. You're watching Labatt's Blue Jays baseball on TSN. Now let's go to TSN update. I mean, I've seen that so many times, but every time I see it, I think it gets funnier. Barfield was 27 home runs, 77 RBIs. Hitting just .226 off right-handers this year.
He needs to get on the base. Rob Ducey has moved out on the on-deck circle. He'll be pinch hitting.
Gruber. Two balls and no strikes. You got Freddie McGriff following Ducey. There's a strike.
Still more comfortable throwing the breaking pitch over for a strike than the fastball. There comes with the slider. 2 balls, no strikes. Once again, tackled
Hopper back to clear. 1 down.
Batting for Gruber, number 40, Rob Ducey.
So Rob Ducey will come in. The pinch hit for Kelly Gruber.
Ducey got to get on base. Give Fred McGriff a whack at it. With a runner on, possibly tie the game up.
He filled in for George Bell Monday night when Bell got hit by that Wegman fastball on the nose. And Ducey went 0 for 2. He did have a big hit, though, a single in a winning rally against Oakland last week. Here falls behind 2-0. You got Fred McGriff in the on-deck circle.
Ducey's got to take a strike
upshot.
now. Got to make Clear come in there. Naturally, Clear doesn't want to walk a batter ahead of McGriff. He's going to come right at Ducey. Right in there.
Evens it up. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Ducey asking the home plate umpire, John Hirschbeck, where that pitch was. $10,555 fans here tonight to watch this one. The Tigers come to town tomorrow night. It'll be Juan Nieves pitching for Milwaukee against Frank Tanana. Then Friday, Teddy Higuera against Nate Snell. Saturday, Wegman against Jack Morris. Morris is 17-7. And Bazio on Sunday against Walt Terrell.
Pretty good lineup for the Brewers going at the Tigers. Nieves and Higuera, of course, the Blue Jays missed. We saw Wegman. He threw a nice game, as did Bazio.
Two down. Clear came on in the 7th inning with nobody out. Runners in first and second, and what a job he has done since then.
Takes a little bit off this breaking ball, and Rob Ducey's out in front. Off balance. Took a little bit off, just looped that curveball in there.
Ducey was Clear's 3rd strikeout. Now here's McGriff with 2 down. McGriff is 1 for 3 tonight, and he has struck out twice. He was the first hitter that Clear faced back in the 7th and struck him out. The Jays just 1 out away from falling a game and a half back of the Detroit Tigers.
Boy, Clear's done a fine job. Got that breaking ball over the plate, and that's going to bring the Brewer fans to their feet. Mark Clear has Fred McGriff. 2 balls, 2 strikes with 2 outs.
Pitch is low, full count. It's been 2 weeks since McGriff hit his last home run. Off the handle down to Brock. He'll touch the bag. The game is over. The Brewers win it 6-4. And what a fine pitching performance by Mark Clear, who picks up his 7th win of the season. He's lost 5 and he has saved 4. So the Blue Jays drop a game and a half back of the Detroit Tigers. You're watching Labatt's Blue Jays baseball on TSN. Well, the Detroit Tigers, after losing 2 out of 3 in Texas, went into Baltimore and swept a 3-game series. While the Blue Jays came into Milwaukee and they lost 2 out of 3. So that's been the difference, a game and a half. The Tigers lead the Jays now, but Buck Martinez, the big story tonight, the relief pitching of Mark Clear.
Well, Clear came on with 2 runners on and got a big strikeout of McGriff. Finished up the 7th inning, gave the Brewers a chance to get back in the ball game, and that's exactly what they did. They scored 4 in the bottom of the 7th.
Jim Clancy did a nice job tonight. He struck out 10 through 6 and a third, but once again, a no decision for Clancy. Final score, Milwaukee win it. You're watching Labatt's Blue Jays baseball on TSN. Labatt's Blue Jays baseball has been brought to you by Petro-Canada dealers and agents. Our energy is Canada. And by General Motors of Canada, who says join us at the 1988 Calgary Winter Olympics. This has been a special presentation of the Sports Network, produced in association with TV Labatt and protected by copyright. Any use of this telecast without permission is prohibited. The final score, the Brewers win it 6-4. The winning pitcher, Mark Clear, and the loser, David Wells. He's 1-3 now with the Jays. The Labatt's players of the game for Toronto, it'll be Jim Clancy, who will receive the new Canon EOS, and for Milwaukee, Mark Clear, who will receive the Hitachi DA400. As well, 2 amateur baseball teams will be the guests of Jim Clancy, Canon, and Hitachi at a future game. Major League Baseball next on TSN, Friday, September the 11th, starting at 2 p.m. Eastern, the Expos and the Cubs. Then at 7:30 Eastern, the Blue Jays will host the New York Yankees. Our baseball magic winners tonight, Roger Laird of Toronto and R. McKee of Don Mills, Ontario. Now, stay tuned for extra innings. Our guest pitcher, Mark Eichhorn, and we'll be taking your calls in just a few minutes.